Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the Greatest Rivalry Tour, and this one it is the Sharks versus New Zealand. We've already had a game only quite a little recent window. I don't even know if that's a sentence. It's currently 4 a.m. here in New Zealand, ladies and gents, but we did see the All Blacks go head-to-head with the Stormers in match number 1, getting themselves the victory and now moving straight on to this next game just the 4 days later with a Bulls contest happening this weekend too. But looking through at the starting lineups for these two sides, I will mention we've got quite a bit of time before the kickoff to go through everything that has happened in the Greatest Rivalry Tour so far, as well as what is to come for these two sides too. But in the front row, it is Rolofsa alongside Edouard Swart and also Vincent Koch in the number 3 jersey. So some Springbok experience here for the Sharks. Definitely not as much as they would normally have in a URC campaign, but still a decent amount for this contest. In the locking duo, it is Stassen alongside Emil van Heeren in the locking duo. Pepsi Buthelezi number 4, Emmanuel Tichuka number 5, who has had a very strong season for the Sharks just last URC campaign. And then the captain, Nick Hatton, he slots in as the number 8. In the 19 combination, it is quite a young one. Bradley Davids at 9, Vusi Moyo slotting in as the number 10. Besta out on the left wing, Murray Costa and Lorenzo Julius will make up the midfield combo, with Donovan Don out on the right wing and Sayaya as the number 15. Looking through at the All Blacks starting lineup. Now, unlike last week or last matchup, we don't see a late change to the starting 15, but we do see the change off of the bench. No Cam Roigard in this contest. Instead, Cortez Ratama will slot in as 21, but in the front row, few changes compared to what we saw just last game. Ethan de Groot number 1, Asafwa Moore 2, and Fletcher Null slotting in at 3. Last matchup, we got to see a little bit more of a rotation from Dave Rennie with George Bauer, Taukiaho, and Basilio Tossi as that number 3. But in the locking duo, it is Josh Lord and Sam Derry, and then another lock in the number 6 jersey, that is Tupovai. So we did see him play there in the July internationals at times, but this is the first time on the Greatest Rivalry Tour that we see him in action, and it is from their number 6 jersey. Wallace Satiti initially was named as the number 7, but it was actually a mistake from the All Blacks. It was supposed to be the number 8 jersey. The captain, Luke Jacobson, slotting in as the 7, and then Wallace Satiti off the back of the scrum. He was initially going to be playing in that first contest against the Stormers, ruled out due to sickness, but now back rearing to go for the Sharks clash. In the back line, it is Kyle Preston and Ruben Love as that 19 combination. So Preston getting his first start as an All Black here. Caleb Clark out on the left wing, Geordie Barrett and Quintapaya in the midfield. Fihi Whinianofo, he returns from his injury, and Damian McKenzie, he's there as the number 15. But we have got a whole heap of people in the chat already. Hope you guys are doing very well. We've got Xander, who said that hopefully they cancel the match. It's too cold. Someone said it's about 14 degrees Celsius as well in Durban, which for us here in New Zealand, like, we'd take that. We're currently sitting 9 degrees Celsius, but it's a different kind of temperature over there. Of course, there are a lot more warmer days in Durban than there are compared to here in New Zealand. So, yeah, it will be a bit of an adjustment for the players, although I do have to say that New Zealanders, I would think, will play this very well in terms of the coldness. There's no altitude to deal with either, and this is considered a much stronger New Zealand lineup than we saw in the first match. We have got too cold for the game, they will freeze, says Michelle. And then also we have got there, it's cold with rain not being in Durban. Up north we are getting floods. Hopefully it's not so heavy there. Looking forward to the match, says Francois. What happened to Rico? Or what happened that Rico did not make the lineup? That is my boy. He and Bo are my favourites. At least Wallace will be on the roster, one of their favourites. So it's nothing that I would say Rico Ioane did in that first game. It's just more so the rotation. At the end of the day, this is a long tour. You don't want to gas out your experience or your decent players in the early stages of the test tour or just the tour in general, because then by the end of it, they're starting to get those wear and tear moments. A few early injury signs for the All Blacks at the moment, with Cam Roigard, Will Jordan, Cody Taylor, Billy Proctor, all being on that injury list currently. So you don't want to take any sort of risks in terms of chucking a guy who, in Rico Ioane, did actually do very nicely in the game against the Stormers, with the exception of the high ball. You know, you want to give those chances to the rotation of the team, get other guys in there so that you can keep on finding out what your combinations are heading into the matches. We have got their winners of the match starting in about 55 minutes time. Nice early morning start for us here in New Zealand of 4:05 a.m., but it is a 5 a.m. kickoff for us here in New Zealand and a 7 p.m. kickoff on a Tuesday night for you guys. In South Africa, we have got their Rolofsa. I know that guy. Says, how's it there? And also we have got, hi, Hamish from Desvonde. How's it, everyone? Says Ulrich. Good morning, says Jeff. And I don't like South Africa kicking tactics. When it works, they can be dangerous, says Crocker. And one thing that we've seen for New Zealand is that lack of high ball ability at times. Let's be honest, against the Stormers, it seemed like New Zealand very much so 50-50 there. Something else that they want to improve on was definitely the scrum. So heading into this contest, shoring up that front row, and you could actually argue shoring up the high ball as well, with Caleb Clark, Damian McKenzie and Geordie Barrett all being included. In this 15, we have got their 14 degrees isn't cold, says Dime Till Deaf. I got a bad feeling Sharks are leaving us. Holden Thumbs though, says Ulrich, and also McKenzie plays his best in the rain. And is Jordan injured? Yes, a little bit. Not a major injury. It's only going to be a short amount of time by the sounds of it. Just a little bit of a crook back was the comment from Dave Rennie. But he should be all right to play up against the Bulls. It was just early on in the week. They weren't too sure how he was getting on. We have got their predicting All Blacks 53, the Sharks 15. And we have got their cancel the match because of the weather, mate. This is rugby, not ballet. Says Matthias, do they cancel ballet if it's raining? I don't even know what the regulations are of the ballet world. We have got there Mr. Smart Hamish from a cold and raining Durban. A very cold for us Durbanites, says Brian there. And All Black 60 to the Sharks 5, says Richie. And also Jim the Difference versus Nonu. Yeah, a bit of an interesting matchup off of the bench with Timothy Tavanawai getting his first minutes of the Greatest Rivalry Tour, chucking him up against an absolute All Blacks legend in Ma'anonu at the ripe age of 44. He is still playing his professional rugby. And I'll be honest, I don't know how long the Sharks are going to give him at the end of this game. They have got the 6-2 odds. No, sorry, it is a 5-3 split. They've got Gwilumi there, who probably covers more so the back three. But who knows? Maybe Ma'a gets like 5 minutes at the end of this game, or if there's an injury early, we might even see Ma'anonu playing 40-plus minutes of this contest. Tachuka versus Jacobson, says Scheme there. Yeah, we've seen some great work from Emmanuel Tachuka in recent times. The way that he's been able to get around the field. He is a big unit in terms of a loose forward. He does, or at least he did used to play lock. And Vincent Tachuka, his brother, was more so in the loose forward trio. But they've done a bit of a switch with those two men. And Vincent hardly even gets starting minutes anymore, making his way off the bench as the number 19. To my fellow Kiwis who will be watching, keep an eye on number 15 for the Sharks. Only 19. Philadelphia says, how's it? Yeah, it's quite an exciting young team in terms of some of these guys from the under-20 setup for the Sharks. You know, you look at someone like Avusi Moyo, you look at Besta. Also, they've got Gerenzo Julius, who I know is a little bit older than the under-20s now, but he was another one who had a very bright future. A couple of those guys off the bench too, in terms of Liam Van Beek as well as Matt Ramal, also from the youngster setup. Willowmere the same. So yeah, a lot of positives I would say that the Sharks can take from this game in terms of their young players, giving them a chance. Why do we go with such a strong team, says Richie? The reasoning I believe that Dave Rennie went with a stronger team here is because he wants to give the players who are taking part in the first test match a lot longer rest. So, you know, you play this game and then you got 10 days off rather than playing the game and having about maybe 7 or so in terms of if you were to play up against the Bulls. So, yeah, it depends on how you look at it, because I agree that having a full week off from the Bulls game, you could argue that they could have put their strongest lineup there, have them in action just before the greatest rivalry first test. But I also do like the idea of resting certain players for that test match. You know, someone like a Roygaard or a Jordan, who we are going to get to see in action maybe in the first test, as long as they're both 100%. Cam Roygaard currently dealing with a bit of a calf injury. On the other side of the equation, Will Jordan, bit of a back problem, but I think they'll both be back. And also raring to go, Haddon versus Atiti. Says Scheme there, and also we have got there, I got a question, do you feel that earthquake down there last week? Not at all, no. No, whereabouts was it, Robert? Do let me know, because I think we have, what is it, like over 10,000 earthquakes a year here in New Zealand or something like that. Not many of them do get felt, but the occasional big one does have a little bit of an impact. We got there from Hannah High, welcome in. How many box in the Sharks team, says Desvonde. So at the moment, the way that the setup is, I would say in this team, see, there's a few guys who I believe are going to be in that Springbok setup soon, but Vincent Koch is definitely one of them. Pepsi Putalese has been in the Springboks before, and Emmanuel Tuchuka was selected in Rassi's wider training squad. Vusi Moyo got himself his debut for the Sharks, for the Springboks not too long ago. So I'd say probably 4 or 5 in terms of the starting lineup. If you count the sevens, which I know some people don't, but Donovan Don has had international sevens experience. And Durban field is a mess, says Robin there. Yeah, it sounds like the weather's been a little bit rough in just this last little while. We'll probably change the tactics for the two sides a little bit too, I would say. Ratman's on the bench. Not sure if he will lead Haka. Says Crocker, probably not. I would say in terms of this lineup, the most likely to lead the Haka, probably Quinn Tupaia, I would say. But it could be, there could be a couple other options in terms of the teams. I'll try and have my elbows in a little bit more so you guys can see who is off the bench. As you can see, Ethan Blackadder there as the number 19 with a debutant in Samisi Tupotae Loa at number 20. That is due to the extra lock cover that the All Blacks have got in their starting lineup. We have got there the first underwater haka ever. And we have got there South Africa watching from Mauritius. ABs will win. Or win big. Sharks have been struggling this season, says you think. Yeah, they've been a bit up and down the Sharks side. Although, I mentioned about it in my preview as well. Sometimes for the Sharks team, throughout the season, when they've had less Springboks, they've actually looked like more of a cohesive unit. Seems to be sometimes that with the drastic changes of the amount of Springboks that go into the team, sometimes it just causes a little bit of a hiccup. But in this case, I'm sure they would have loved to have a few of them available. If the Kiwi pundits didn't like the stoppages in the previous game, going to hate tonight's game, says how's it, Maru? And also we have got there, still can't believe Matanonu was playing for the Sharks, says Slow GT. I agree, but I also can't believe Matanonu's still playing. Full stop. Like the fact that that man is 44 years of age and still finding new clubs to be able to participate at. It's been all around the world with this rugby, and I mentioned about it as well in that preview that Matanonu playing professional rugby, that was something that was happening almost before some of these youngsters were born in terms of his teammates. Like that is the crazy factor here. He's been around for a long time, but has that wealth of knowledge. And also, I mean, who else would know the way that the All Blacks play than an ex-All Black themselves? We have got there, this one's going to be a good old-fashioned hiding. The All Blacks win by 40 plus. I want to see a bit of Caleb, Fehi and Preston. Yeah, I think that Fehi Whirianofo is very important in terms of getting to see some minutes for him in this contest, mainly because we only got to see a very brief feature in the match against the French. But building into those test matches, I think that number 11 jersey is arguably still up for grabs. 14, more than likely, they'll probably go with Will Jordan, unless, of course, that back injury does get any worse. I'd say 15 secured with McKenzie, but Morby, Clark, Ioane, Fehi Whirianofo, and Imoni Narawa, you could argue, are the other guys looking for a wing spot. And we have got there this perfect warm-up for the All Blacks. It would be a surprise if they lose to the Sharks. Prediction 60 plus for the All Blacks. And when does the game start? The game is starting in 45 minutes time. So it's already been 15 minutes. So we're getting closer to the start of this match. I know that the coverage here in New Zealand starts up at 1:45. So that means we are very close to getting to see exactly how bad this field looks, as some people have said that it's not looking too flash at the moment. So yeah, we'll wait and see what it looks like. I'm hoping it's going to be not completely terrible. But it could be quite wet too, I would think. We're going to mac and cheese in the oven. And A-Man said PM says Rugby Itch there, so we'll check it in a very short moment. But I hope you are doing well, Tim. When does the game start? So it is starting in 45 minutes time. And I hope Quinn leads the haka, says Jeff Mobb. An early one, says Hamish. Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward time for some of us here in New Zealand in terms of the time this game has taken place. It will be an early start on a Wednesday morning. I'd assume that some people will be up to watch this game and then just continue on, head to work afterwards. I'm excited to see Fehi get the start and more rain forecast. In fact, torrential rain, says Heinrich. Okay, so that is not good news then, the fact that torrential rain be just around the corner for this contest. What I'm also hoping just around the corner for this contest is some audio. There we go. I've got it now. For some reason, I just recently moved the setup again, or got it set back up, and I couldn't hear anything, but now we've got some sort of sound. Come on the Sharks, says Thomas, and thanks for putting in effort into pronouncing Māori and Polynesian names. You're more principled and moral than 90% of non-Polynesian and Māori sports commentators. Yeah, see, I still butcher the occasional name. I'll be honest, Siali Lawaki was taking a while to come off the tongue all right. But, yeah, hopefully there are a few of those names that do get a little bit better. I know NPC-wise I struggle with a couple of the guys, but slowly getting there. And looking forward to watching them more. Samisi Tupatailoa and Tava Tavanawai in action. I'm guessing Timothy will make will be marking Ma'a. That'll be epic. Yeah, something that, again, never thought we'd see. An All Black versus the All Blacks in any sort of, like, matchup. And that's what this greatest rivalry tour has offered us. How's Preston as a 9? Solid. He made his way off the bench in the last contest for New Zealand, and the game actually changed when he made his way on, alongside Josh Jacob. Those two men were able to speed up the tempo and just seemed to add that little bit more X factor when it came to the attack, which was quite surprising because you had two guys with more experience in terms of Beauden Barrett and Cortez Ratama in the starting lineup. But I do actually think that for New Zealand here, Preston, this is a massive chance for him to show what he can do and potentially even get himself a starting opportunity or off the bench in those test matches, depending on what tactics Dave Rennie wants to use. We have got there from Johan, like, man, I forgot this game was on. Stoked when I saw the stream starting. Thanks so much. Says, Johan, no worries at all. Hopefully you do enjoy the game. That's a big shark. Is that you in the water with the shark? I always wonder whether or not. I hope it's trained, or at least a friendly one. But they are just showing there, the weather does look a little bit rough in Durban for this contest by the looks of it. A bit chilly. Hopefully not a huge amount of rain will be on the cards. Good afternoon from a sun-kissed southern Scotland. 26 degrees today, says Paul there. And also we have got there first Milo down, says Scheme. And also I have zero confidence that the Sharks will score a single point. All Blacks brought a full strength team today. I disagree. I think, well, actually not like in terms of the full strength side. I think it is very close to what would be considered quite close to full strength, with the exception of no Roy Gard and maybe no Will Jordan in there too. But, like, I think the Sharks will score at least a couple tries here. Because we've got to remember, even in games where the All Blacks, they have had some very strong attack, at times their defence has still been exposed. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case, that we see maybe one or two run in by the Sharks here. They've got a decent enough attack. And to be fair, if you're looking at the end of year URC fixtures, they were scoring quite a few points. English test got cancelled, so we can watch this game peacefully. Says Crocker there. And we have got there, I'm on ACC with a broken leg, thankfully, so I can watch it. Says Slow GT. Well, hopefully your leg does recover very quickly. We have got there, it's your pronunciation effort that counts, bro. Kia ora, bro. And thank you, says Parava. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. They are just showing the All Blacks in Durban played 25, won 17 of those matches, although not often against the Sharks in this location. We have got there, not always worth 15 points if he gets going, says Derek. And we have got there, when did they put the screen to commercials like NASCAR? Wait, when did they put the screen to do commercials? As in, like, at the stadium, or just in general? We have got there, the Sharks logo, ain't it? Yeah, I've seen many people not happy with that new Sharks logo, although they've got a new shark, but then they also have a new brand in terms of, like, the overall brand of it, which is just pretty much SRU, I think, are the abbreviated letters that they have got. Hope to buy, as Guy says, Scheme. And also we have got there me and nice bull shark off the coast of Mexico. Great day. Bull sharks are supposed to be relatively chilled out, aren't they? From the sounds of it, 35 degrees here in France at 6:20 p.m. You pronounce the island names way better than those so-called commentators, says Mr. Kiwi for life. And Hope Moore puts his best foot forward today. Well, he did have a decent impact off the bench in the last contest, a soft one more. We're hoping to back it up here with something of a big performance, because we've got to remember Cody Taylor so far in this greatest rivalry tour is yet to have any minutes. And that is due to the injury that he did suffer. They are just showing the All Blacks arriving a little while ago. They've had one match. It was up against the Stormers just last week, 38 points to 21. But here is the tour that is still ahead of us. As you can see, there's still a lot to come. This match between the between the Sharks and the All Blacks, that is happening here in that middle patch. So after that, they've got the Bulls. That has taken place in only 4 days' time. Then from there, they've got the first test match. That is 7 days after the Bulls matchup. And then there's a midweek game. There's another matchup taking place that weekend. So again, we'll see a lot of rotation from New Zealand. That Lions game more than likely will involve a lot of changes, but that is also the opportunity for the Lions to be able to show what they can do with players like Kewan Horn. I assume JC Pretorius will be in the mix there too. But they've got some pretty handy players on paper, the Lions, and it's at altitude as well, so might be able to give the All Blacks a decent showing there. 3 test matches in a row, though, at the end, including the Baltimore test. That is on the 13th of September. Straight from there, the All Blacks, they jump into their next matches, and that is involving the side going head-to-head with Australia, and then from there, the November internationals also taking place there as well. But we talked about that game up against the Stormers, 38 points to the 21. If we just go here, these are the matches that took place internationally last week. That was the first game of the weekend, the All Black Stormers. Then from there, a brilliant back and forth between Australia and Japan. Now, they are actually playing each other this weekend. We will be covering that game on the channel. And then South Africa, Argentina, a lower score than a lot of people were anticipating. A nice seesaw type of battle between the two teams. Argentina were up for the fight, but in the end, the Box were able to get the job done. It is bucketing down in Durban at the moment, though. They are talking about the heavy rain. There is water that is almost turning into a bit of surface flooding. The temperature is 10 degrees and there is about 18 kilometers of wind. So not easy conditions, but they were trying their best before this game to just clear some of the water that was forming. But it is absolutely bucketing down for this game, which, to be fair, when you talk about Greatest Rivalry Tour, and you talk about those old school matches, some of those took place in the mud. And I feel like this is going to be a bit of a throwback match per se on these two sides. To go head-to-head, we have got the All Blacks by 1. Ma'anonu is playing. Says Gaz there. And also we have got the Student Representative Council. They literally took the URC logo, says Sash. And the problem with the Sharks just the stop for the Box. Look at all the Box never play, especially Eben and Sia. And all the others, what a pity, says Angie. Yeah, they have a huge amount of Box, although less now. They have actually lost quite a few for that next URC season. But, so many great players that when they put on a Sharks jersey, just don't reach that next level. We are going to look through at the Sharks' recent form. Ladies and gentlemen, they did lose to Connacht, they did lose to the Ospreys, they did lose to Edinburgh. Now, at that stage, they were then pretty much out of the URC, and then they started playing some pretty handy rugby up against the Italian sides, 46 points to 7 and 54 points to 19. So just looking at their recent form, even though it was a couple months ago, that's the big problem at the moment, because you can't really look at anything recent for the Sharks team as they just haven't been playing. But 100 points across those two matches, is it something that might lead to a few points in this game? Of course, some of these guys have been playing in the Curry Cup competition too. They've been preparing for this All Blacks test though. But yeah, you can see how much the heavy rain is already affecting how much that ball is rolling or even just skidding on in terms of some of the kicks that we're seeing in the background. So it could be a tough day at the office. And that's where I think that the All Blacks, again, I think this aerial challenge will be something that is so crucial for the Sharks throughout this matchup. Put the All Blacks under pressure, make them feel a little bit uncomfortable with what is to come here. Looking at the Sharks and what is to come, they have got their game of the URC taking place in just under 7 weeks' time. That is against the Ospreys. Then they play Leinster. That Stormers Sharks game should be a very entertaining one. And then we see the Challenge Cup get underway with a game against Lyon, and then back into the URC for Cardiff and Munster to bring us through to November. Then there is, of course, that international window in November, which is when the sides will not be playing. That is for the Nations Championship. And that is where we'll see a few of those Sharks guys back in the green and gold. We have got there, Nono is going to be number 16 for the All Blacks, says Ball Plunder Guy. It's a pretty competitive lineup, says Sash, and cold and rainy. Normal winter's day for New Zealand, says Sports Unfiltered. And also we have got their Sharks have been bad for a long time. Better under JP Pedersen, says Derek. Yeah, they actually made a few improvements throughout last season. I'm just quickly going to show you a little bit more info about the Sharks side, and that is where they finished on the URC standings. As you can see, 46 points. They were 10th in the end. It was a brilliant race for that top 8 in the end. Ulster just narrowly missing out. Connacht managing to sneak in after some brilliant form right at the end of the URC campaign. But the Lions, the Bulls, and the Stormers, they were all within the top 8. The only side that were not in the top 8 was the side with the most Springboks. that being the Sharks. Although I think it's actually now quite competitive between the Sharks and the Bulls in terms of the numbers. But we're talking about a Sharks side that had Oxen Shah, that had Eben Etzebeth, that had Sia Kolisi, that had Andre Esterhuizen, Apelele Fasi, Edwald van der Merwe. The list does go on. Of course, they weren't all available at the same time, which I think did hurt the Sharks as well in terms of that cohesion I was mentioning earlier on. But still, it's a stacked team normally that hasn't quite got those results that they have been after. Ma'anonu could be the difference. Historic night for the Sharks. Ma'anonu to score a late try to sneak it for the Sharks, says Gaz. And also we have got the Imagine, says Sash there, and who's going to lead the haka? I would think more than likely Quinn Tupai. Hey Hamish, good to see you again, back in business. Going to be busy the next few weeks or months. Yeah, it certainly is going to be. Looking forward to it though. I do enjoy a good midweek game. Brings me a little bit back to that British and Irish Lions tour that did take place what feels like not that long ago, but it was a little while. We have got there, do those players your name really played, says Pigeon Boy, exactly. And then when they did come back in, there was just a whole heap of muddled mess, unfortunately, and sometimes that Sharks team did actually play worse with those men back in than they did play without them. There's nothing more depressing than being a Sharks fan, but if the Sharks win, it will be huge, says Gaz, and good luck the Sharks. If they can stay within 10, they would have exceeded expectations. And also, dude, I read that one, and the change happened when he went to prison, like Botha should do too, says Porava. And also, we've got there, is it snowing in New Zealand? Because it's snowing up here in South Africa. We had a little bit of snow earlier on in the week, but nothing too severe lately, which is quite nice. We have got there, Sharks are a joke. When we're being honest, I supported the Sharks for a while. Yeah, they're a tough team to get behind, aren't they? And the thing is, like, when they play well, they don't look like the same team that you've just witnessed the last 2 or 3 weeks throwing away games with the way that they've been making the poor decisions. One thing that did help the Sharks, though, was their scrum. It actually saved them in a few matches, and I do think that that is something that they'll look to target in this matchup up against the All Blacks. Now, I do also feel that the All Blacks scrum has maybe been shored up a little bit in terms of the fact that they've got De Groot and all, in terms of those front rowers. We have there, SRC is horrendous. I don't think I'll ever get over it, says Sash. Yeah, it's an interesting one. What do they say? It's for the brand and to be recognised globally. But no one's happy with it. Everyone wants to see it be back to the Sharks' normal logo. It's freezing in South Africa, says Derek. Yeah, 10 degrees Celsius at the moment, the way that it does sit. Sharks 16. All Blacks 13 is my final prediction, and kickoff is just over 30 minutes. It certainly is. We are getting closer and closer to the start of this game. Snow is all over, about 140 kilometres inland from Durban, up the hill. So if the wind is blowing that way too, I would say it will probably cause a little bit of chilliness, which is probably why we're sitting 10 degrees Celsius for this game. We have got I think New Zealand is eager to bounce back from last week's bad performance, so I'm not overly optimistic for the Sharks' prospects, crossing fingers for a competitive match. And also the Sharks have a lot of history and pride. Butch James, JP Peterson, Montgomery Smith, a big legacy to respect. And someone asked me what time is kickoff. The answer to that is every 10 minutes, says Kevin. But yeah, currently sitting around 30 minutes away from the start of this contest. They're just having a bit of a breakdown panel like they would normally have in the early stages of the week. They are doing the pre-match build-up. They're just showing there South Africa won a series held in New Zealand in 1937. The All Blacks toured South Africa and lost 4-0 in 1949. So hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. Hopefully we get to see some sort of 2-2 or 3-1. We over there can't wait for the Springboks to smack the All Blacks. New Zealand, Tonga, Fiji, and Samoa. AB's is a 4-nation team. Says Martin van Rensburg. Does that mean that South Africa are a 2-nation side though? Because they have had Vincent Tachuka, who is from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I know that in the past they've had Zimbabwean players there too, but I guess that's only 3 to 4, isn't it? We have got there teeing off on Granny. What does that mean? We have got there, you made the right call. Are you a Bull supporter now? And we have got there every time the All Blacks score, Hamish, says Kevin. And there too, but they are just showing the starting pack of the Shark side. Emmanuel Tachuka in that number 7 jersey. Ma'anonu with the Sharks. How old is this brother? He is 44 years old. Believe it or not, 1-nation team. Okay, so the Tachuka brothers don't count, do they? We have got there 62, 21. It's going to be a hiding. It says Paul Rava. The Sharks will win. And the Sharks were forced to lose the 2007 Super Rugby final in order to keep Springbok morale high ahead of the 2007 Rugby World Cup. The Sharks had won, Box would not have won the 2007 Rugby World Cup, says Gaz there. And we have got there, I call it draw, says Martin. And also we have got there, would you people call off with a bad performance, chat? Yes, you think the All Blacks got hammered and even lost, says Jeff Mob. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, they did have a few shaky moments in that contest. It was competitive up against the Stormers early on, but they still won that contest by the 19 points, I believe it was, in the end, or 18 points, somewhere around there. So, yes, it was shaky, but I think that's because of the high standard that people expect from the All Blacks. They expected them to go out there and absolutely smash the opposition, but the reality is, heading to South Africa, opening contest, multiple changes, it was never going to be a very easy match. Hi, Hamish, says Hunter Prime. And we have there with our Polynesian brothers, New Zealanders. We're not apartheid, says Sonny Listen. And we have got also, this will probably be the last week game the ABs play on their tour. Weeks of sunny here for us here, says Albert. Have you bought the Greatest Rivalry jersey? I have not. But, yeah, I might have to consider it. I know that they've got, I've seen a lot of AI ones that people have been designing online in terms of the two kits together. My prediction for the All Blacks is 73-0. And All Blacks win by 25 plus. I hope the Sharks surprise, says Martin. But yeah, I do think there are certain players in the Sharks lineup that if they play well up against New Zealand, similar to what we saw in the Stormers game against the All Blacks, they could throw their name in the hat. You know, you look at someone like Yakin Ahmed and how well he played up against the All Blacks with that kicking game. That will be something that Rassi takes notes of. You look at Dion Foree, for instance, played brilliantly in the game against New Zealand. Sio Kolisi goes down with a calf injury. Dion Foree at 40, oh no, he's not quite 40, is he, Dion? Oh no, he might be 40 actually, Dion Foree, but he's back now with the Springboks. So that's the opportunity, oh no, not quite, 39 years of age for Dion Foree. He's got September as his birthday, but yeah, he's still going. And All Blacks win by 25 points. And why is everyone so shocked that the Pumas were tough to beat in Buenos Aires? They were so up for that game and tackled like men possessed, says Hunter Prime. Yeah, I think that a lot of people expected maybe the Pumas not to be as motivated after the way that their series went, or their game went up against the English. Some thought that might have caused Argentina to drop off a bit, but they actually, yeah, they were up for the challenge. They well and truly played their hearts out and almost were able to get there. At the end of 2023, Box had injuries and a much tougher route to the final. Losing Bongi in the second minute was almost game over for the Box, says Gaz. The last time the All Blacks played against Argentina at that stadium and they lost, says Albert. And basically 40-man, says War Plunder. And tell you what, even though it is absolutely pouring down in Durban, it seems like the crowd are more than up for supporting these two sides. And we have got there, yes. And you want to discuss why? I want to go through stats from the 2023 final, says Porava there. And also watching Ma'anonu warming up in green. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one in terms of, like, you know, they're showing highlights of Ma'anonu from back in the day. He won the 2011 and 2015 Rugby World Cups in a 13-year international career. Now, not many players get to play for 13 years at the top level, but also alongside that, you don't often see a player play for 13 years and then is still playing at the age of 44. He is definitely an outlier in terms of rugby statistics. Yeah, warming up at the moment. And it's always talked about how hard he works in terms of his rugby tenure. Like, he is not one of those players who has just breezed his way through by being lucky and avoiding putting in the hard yards. Apparently, anyone who's trained with him says he is one of the hardest trainers out there. But debut in 2003. So that was 23 years ago. Half of his teammates in this game weren't even born in 2003. Good to see Fihi in the starting lineup, says Manny. Yeah, hopefully he'll be able to go decently after that shoulder injury that he did suffer in the last matchup that he played against the French. What's Nonu going to do during the haka? Very good question, and that's actually been talked about a lot in terms of whether or not Ma'anonu will join in with the All Blacks haka, or whether he is more than likely going to just stand there and watch the next generation of New Zealand talent. He might join in. I think he might. Who was it? There was one player, I think it was in a Barbarians game up against the New Zealand 15, where we do see one or two of the Barbarians players actually doing the haka as well. Cold and wet in Durban. Says Martin, yeah, it does not look like the nicest weather for this contest, but that doesn't mean we won't get a great game of rugby here. Poor discipline cost the All Blacks the last World Cup. They learned nothing from it, says Jon Neddeling. A lot of penalties against New Zealand in the last match up against the Stormers. Their discipline has to be better in this contest, as if they want any chance of winning in any of those test matches, less than 10 penalties is the key to success. More than 10 gets you in that little bit of a danger zone. Should Ruiz be worried that Dion leapfrogged him, considering that Ruiz can play 6'2"? I don't think Rassi sees Ruiz as a 6, though. So I think at the moment, Ruiz would have been more concerned at the fact that Cameron Honeycomb had such a strong game, as that pretty much took Ruiz out of the equation. I think that at the moment for 6, they do still have plenty of options available. You know, you talk about Dion Foree being back into that environment, but there are still other guys can play that number 6 jersey quite nicely, one of which being Paul de Villiers, who I do think is actually also leapfrogged over someone like an Evan Ruiz in just the recent time. It's good to see Rennie rotating across different games. Will be good for the All Blacks. Says Map, it does make it very difficult to be able to predict who is going to be in those lineups, of course, but yeah, there's going to be, I think, another maybe 15, 20 changes in the game against the Bulls. There are men who haven't featured as of yet in terms of this greatest rivalry tour. Looking at someone like Xavier Numia, we haven't seen him as of yet. We haven't seen Cody Taylor, but that's been more so down to injury. I want to see Noni get a try tonight. Says Live and Dry Bones. I did see in New Zealand, I know some people don't like talking about the odds and whatnot, but they do actually have a power play, which is Ma'anonu as the last try scorer in this game for 31 New Zealand dollars. So pretty much that is more than the Sharks are given in terms of their chance of winning this game, almost by double. But they've chucked it out there to say maybe Ma'anonu could get over the line last. I can't believe the Sharks are fielding a team like this against the All Blacks. They plan on embarrassing the whole country tonight, whereas Umbanambi and Mapimpi says Asunda there. Ruiz says knock yellow. Says Johanna and any bookies are given odds on the number of Sharks going down injured. I picked 14. Says Wafer, so that would be quite a few in that case. Both All Blacks and Springboks are undefeated in 2026, 3 from 3 in terms of those test matches of the Nations Championship is the stat that they have just shown, and they have both got pretty decent points differentials currently across that competition. Now, for anyone confused about what the Nations Championship is, it's the 6 Northern Hemisphere sides up against the South, as well as the Japanese and Fiji, so rugby championship sides with the addition of the Pacific Nation Cup, normally the best teams in that equation. They go head-to-head. You play everyone on the opposite side of the draw, and then from there, number 1 faces number 1 in a one-off final at Twickenham. Number 2 play number 2, number 3 play number 3, etc. So currently, New Zealand and South Africa, they are both undefeated, but only one of them can face the number 1 side of the North, which does mean that points differential comes into the equation, and also bonus points too. Because if you're not receiving those, get yourself in a little bit of trouble, and the potential of just dropping off that little bit more and potentially missing out. We have got there. Evening, sorry I'm late, please forgive me. How are you, Hamish? Says Mohadeen, doing very well. Hope you are doing well too. And Nono is a legend, one of the best midfielders of all time. There is a chance for Geordie to understand. He needs to play 12 like that dread-headed guy from the opponent's bench, not play like an individual kicking and being a solo act. And we have got there the box we're playing with 14. Oh no, that's still the World Cup stuff, isn't it? You guys have been going back and forth about that for the past about 10 minutes. And we have got there Wait, says Sash. And there as well, and go the Cheetahs. The Cheetahs from the Curry Cup side of things. Of course, Fuff is back, isn't he? And they got themselves, I believe, a win in the first round of the competition. The Sharks most recently, I believe they were able to get the victory over Bulland. The last round of the Curry Cup. We have got 21 minutes, though, remaining before this match does get underway. We haven't really brushed upon the benches as of yet, but we will go like that and like that too. So looking through, for the Sharks, they have got Liam van Wyk, they've got Kubeka and also Ngubesi as at number 18. Vincent Tachuka, he will be a bit of an impact player to make his way off of the bench there at 19, with Matt Ramel starting nicely for the under-20s the last couple of seasons. Ivan van Sale as the number 21, Willowmere 22, and you are not reading that wrong, Ma'anonu as the number 23. For the All Blacks, it is a debutant in the number 16 jersey with Bradley Slater. He was added into the side due to the injury of George Bell, Ollie Norris and Pasilio Tossi. So Tossi gets another chance. He had a tough day at the office in the scrum department up against the Stormers, but given the opportunity here again from Rennie to use him more as the bench impact. Ethan Blackadder at 19 with Samisi Tupotaeloa as the 20. You may wonder where the lock cover is. It's actually in the starting lineup for New Zealand with Tupovai slotting in as the number 6. Cortez Ratama at 21. Timothy Tavanawai as the 22. And then Amoni Naroa slotting in at number 23. So we haven't seen Tavanawai in action or Naroa as of yet. Naroa dealing with his injuries. Timothy Tavanawai dealing with not being selected, even though he had a phenomenal Super Rugby Pacific. That man beat over 70 defenders. What would have been absolutely incredible would have been if Andre Esterhuizen was playing 12 for this Sharks side. Of course, that was not possible as he did just play for the box against Argentina. But it would have been absolutely incredible to see two absolute battering rams go head-to-head from that inside centre role. But then we could still see it because Ma'anonu can make his way off the bench. And then that could be a weird kind of, I don't know, throwback to future matchup of a head-to-head. It's just weird seeing Ma'anonu's name on this team sheet. I'll be honest, it's a different thing that I don't think many people were expecting up until only relatively recently. We have got there, is there a weather update? I suppose we won't have a big crowd as last week because of it. We got there from Hunter. You made $2.2 billion last week on rugby. 2.2 billion. How much are you putting on them? I feel like the TAB definitely here in New Zealand wouldn't accept bets that high. We have got there Noni versus Tavatavanawa. Should be fun. Here's MKG. And also AB's Tri-Fest. If they are on par, it must be 30 plus against this team. And we have got there, take the best 15 from the north and the best 15 from the south. True north versus south, says Chris. And I roll, yeah, we worked on our discipline by not having same bad referee, says Rolly there. And the weather outside is frightful, says Cool Story. Yeah, it doesn't look that nice out there. But at the same time, I feel like that will give us a very different style of rugby than we got to see in the first match for the Greatest Rivalry Tour. But we are only sitting around there 18 minutes from the start of this contest. Of course, there will be the national anthems before this game gets underway, and then the haka. There are the questions of who is going to lead it for New Zealand, and the other question is whether or not the man in the Sharks lineup of Ma'anonu is going to be joining in for this haka here too. 32 points to 25 is what I dreamt last night, says Eric. And no, literally has no point to prove whatsoever. He's a legend, and we all know it. Yeah, like, he doesn't have to still be playing, right? He's earned his money. He's earned his legacy, but he's still, like, I don't know many 44-year-olds at professional rugby level, full stop, but who are still willing to put in the hard yards the way that Ma'anonu is. Like, he's just, the amount of clubs he's had and the fact that he can remember all the clubs, like, I'd forget them surely by the time you've had, like, over 10. Dion Foree says, Pigeon, yeah, Dion Foree, just to put it in perspective, everyone's been saying how old Dion Foree is, which is pretty rough on the guy, but it is fair enough. But he's 39. Ma'anonu, 5 years older than Dion Foree. But the difference, of course, you could argue is the fact that Dion Foree now with the Springboks call-up rather than the call-up for the Sharks. And Springbok back with the All Blacks backline against all of Europe. I can get behind that. Says Albert there. We have got there 15 minutes to start now. Hamish, Povra and I just sharing fan fiction on sports betting, says Hunter. And I'm still unemployed, says just better than you. It does help for these type of matches, though, with the random hour that they are starting here in New Zealand. A 5 a.m. start in depth means nothing. 23 players who have combinations and teamwork together will always be a team of depth who lacks cohesion, says Zach Cray. And also, I was just hoping that we'd have a great showing. The Sharks haven't had a great time in recent outings, says Kim Fish. Yeah, see, the URC-wise, they finished 10th in the overall standings. They are on a 2-match winning streak URC-wise, but they were up against the 2 Italian sides after the competition was pretty much over. We have you there, could you call your weather to come back to New Zealand, says Cool Story. Yeah, well, it's relatively chilly here in New Zealand. I wish I had employment, just better than you has said. Well, what type of field are you in, just better than you? There might be someone in the comments who's looking for a worker. We get the job application through. I probably, like, the channel, to be fair, doesn't even make enough to pay me, so I can't pay you for any sort of editing or anything like that, whether it's a big equaliser. Says Hunter Prime, we have got there Ma'a going to Wiru with the haka. And also we have got there, I don't wish I go get some, says Derek. And also we got there work, or did you work yet? Not, like, I worked yesterday. I'll be working later today too. Good night, Wafer. And I was thinking the same thing, says call me Shorts. But what we will do again, for anyone who is just tuning in now, this is the greatest rivalry tour ahead. No, it's not. This is the greatest rivalry tour ahead. We have seen that game just recently. The Storm has taken on New Zealand, and New Zealand winning that game by the 17 points. The next game is going to be taking place in around 4 days' time. That is up against the Bulls. So it is once again a very quick turnaround for this New Zealand team, which is why we see so much rotation from Dave Rennie, knowing that he can't afford to chuck out his best lineup each and every week. But yeah, it's certainly going to be intriguing to see what kind of team lines up for that game against the Bulls. 1 second, we'll go like that. We will go like that as well. They are just saying that they got the ponchos out there on the field, just trying to stay dry before this match does get underway. It is certainly going to be a wet one, and the weather's actually got a little bit worse, to be honest. Looks like the rain has actually got heavier than it was earlier on, but still some great matches, and of course those test matches taking place in the near future too. We have got the Ush Solabruv and retiring to the couch scheme, and also we have got their easiest stroll ever, says just better than you, and also we have got their RG action on the Tuesday. Cheers, Hamish. And we have got there, I'm looking to employ a hitman. Oh, we have got there 10 a.m. in hot here in North California. Says Sunny Listen there too. And inside word, Nonu wants to run it straight into Geordie. That's his goal. Well, that's the thing. Geordie Barrett, I believe, will get, I don't think he'll get targeted in terms of that 12-13 channel with Tapaya, but I do think there'll be a couple men trying to run it straight up the middle. Amata Nonu running it into Jim the Difference. And good morning, says Joel Ross. Welcome in. Hope you are doing well. The All Blacks have never beaten Zimbabwe. Shame they didn't organise a fixture ahead of this tour. 1949 seems like yesterday to me, says Gaz. Yeah, that would have been quite cool to see Zimbabwe get a chance, even if it was just a New Zealand 15. Like, what would have been quite cool, because it's been talked about the injury factor, but of course, actually, never mind, I take that back, because if you have a New Zealand 15, you're taken away from the NPC, which there have been some phenomenal games taking place here in New Zealand. 3 of the matches last weekend were absolute thrillers, but they're just saying about the absence of Cody Taylor. It does bring a Safwa Moore into that number 2 jersey, which I don't think is a terrible hit, because based off Super Rugby form, you say Moore was actually the better of them. Tolkiaho also doing nicely throughout the regular Super Rugby Pacific season. The chance for Luke Jacobson to captain this All Blacks team. Hey guys, we're back. I don't know what happened there. I drank water and the whole stream went down. But we're back, rearing to go again. I'll just get that scoreboard back up, but that was really weird. That's why I don't drink out of a glass, I guess. I don't know what happened to the internet. We have that difficult technical difficulties. Actually lagged out, says Scheme. Did you guys see me pick up the glass before it cut out, or did it completely cut out before that stage? But yeah, we are back now, so hopefully you guys can see me. But yeah. Oh, to be fair, you guys probably thought I spilt like the water on the keyboard. Maybe they are just showing the starting lineup for the Sharks here. Put 200 on Amor, scoring a try on this one. Got a good feeling you might grab a few meat pies on this one, says Paul Rava there. As you were drinking, says Scheme. So yeah, you guys probably assumed that I tipped a whole heap of water down the PC and it just went bang. Do you like David Blaine? Yeah, I've been practicing my disappearing. But I do appreciate you guys not disappearing. We were gone for a short stint. I'm Marina from Invercargill now. Says Shane there. Welcome in. Hope you are doing well. How do you pronounce Pepsi? Is it similar to Pepsi? It is, yes. So Pepsi put the lazy hips saw that, says call me. Glitch in the Matrix, says Sean. And also, this is why you should never drink water, says Ray Brush. But yeah, I normally have a drink bottle, but unfortunately left it at the other place. So now I'm sitting with a glass. I couldn't find any water bottle that I could use. How long before kickoff? We've only got about 10 minutes until the kickoff of this contest, so it is just around the corner. And then we will be straight underway for this matchup. We have got the easy game versus the Sharks. These are babies playing in this game. Only name I know. It's Vincent Cox, says Marcus. And that interruption was horrifying, says Albert there. Not to score in the 74th minute, says Scheme. And there too. But Ma'anonu, they are just showing the bench again for the Sharks team. He is there as that number 23, 10 minutes ago, lads. I can't believe how quickly 50 minutes has gone here, by the way. It has been absolutely flying by. As Rugby TV streaming this one, I know that it's available some locations in terms of YouTube. How's it, Hamish? Good night, Sharks, says BIA, and that is on the World Rugby YouTube channel, I should mention, depending on what country you are watching from. Still raining? Absolutely. It is bucketing down for this game, so it is going to be tricky when it comes to that slipperiness of the ball. I do think that's where we're going to see Vusi Moyo go a little bit more kicking orientated. I believe New Zealand will still try and run this ball, though. What do you call for this game? I went New Zealand by 28, I believe was my prediction. I was wondering if you added a new live play tracker. Says DM Boy. So, yeah, we have tried it in the past, and it goes a little bit glitchy. Unfortunately, it's quite far ahead. But, yeah, no, that was just water trying to be drunk, and unfortunately, it all seemed to just dislike me. We have got there, I suspect, all less by 20 or 30. And also, we got your mates. However, weather is basically bad everywhere except Cape Town and Johannesburg, and it's brutally cold. Go the Sharks, test the ABs. Says Red Howell there. And afternoon chats to Mr. Kiwi Sir, welcome in. And yep, 28-3 sounds about right for these conditions, says Albert. They've just said there, it's been raining in Durban for the best part of 2 days. So anything in terms of a dry, fast, attacking pace game probably has been taken off the table, but you could still argue that there is a decent chance that we will see some attacking rugby, definitely with the mindset we've seen change under Dave Rennie. The Sharks do better than the 2017 Springboks. And also, the Sharks must try and make this an arm wrestle, says Hunter. And we'll never score 128. It's a wet day. We'll never score. Did someone predict 128 in terms of the scoreline? They are just showing a few other fans watching on. They have got their ponchos out. They've got the rain jackets. They have got pretty much anything to try and stay dry. We saw plenty more. If it wasn't, South Africans doing the Rassi, the quarter thing, says Derek. Yeah, this one, the national anthems, I would say we're probably about 2 minutes away from the sides making their way out onto the field. The South African national anthem and the New Zealand national anthem will be sung. And then from there, we've also got the haka before the game. Everyone's been talking about it. Will Ma'anonu join in for the All Blacks haka? We have got there the 2017 box, better than 2026 England, says Gaz. And also we have got there, this is basically All Blacks first pick backline, says Rural Sheepdog. Yeah, you could argue with the exception of no Cam Roigard and no Will Jordan, which in this scenario was not possible due to both men having injuries. So, yeah, you've got what is a very handy team on paper. The forward pack's a little bit more reshuffled. It's interesting that they've gone with Tupavai as the number 6 again, just like we saw in the internationals throughout July. But it does also bring the opportunity for, the injury of Billy Proctor. It's been talked about how Richie Mo'unga could be the guy that gets added in. But I think we're actually more likely to see maybe another lock put into the equation. That would be the smart move in my mind, mainly because if you don't do that, you might be a little bit short in the lock department just around the corner for those test matches. So someone like a Jamie Hanna could actually be in the equation. And then, future hours are Hamish Craig from St. Francis Bay, Eastern Cape, South Africa is back. It's cold, bro, says Craig there. Yeah, it's about 10 degrees Celsius for this one. Ruben Kreer held Benazi up in 1995, did not score, says Ian. And also we have got there like in sub, says Red Hell. Yeah, anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It is greatly appreciated you all being here for this matchup. We have got plenty more of this Greatest Rivalry Tour just around the corner. So if you are new, sure to hit subscribe. We have got there, if the ABs win more than 2 of the 4 tests against South Africa, we'll win the World Cup next year. We've got South Africa's number, and referees are motivated to speed up the ball, leaving the mauls quickly, says Paul Rava. And also, Will Jordan playing next week then? I believe so. I believe he's also available to play in the contest against the Bulls, but I don't think Dave Rennie would risk him there. Good evening, Hamish. Hope you're well. Come on, maybe replace Billy Proctor. Only because he hasn't played in New Zealand? No. But imagine the scenes, even though it can't happen. But I think more than likely we're going to see either, I would say, there's like 4. Jamie Hanna, Noah Hotham, Richie Mo'unga, or maybe they go with someone like a Sullivan or a Daniel Rona in terms of those outside centre options. Morning, Hamish. And all not much of a crowd. Says Thuds Rays, yeah, that's absolutely bucketing down Thuds Rays. Like torrential downpour for the last 2 days. It has flooded underfoot, so it is definitely going to be a different type of matchup than some would have first anticipated. They are just singing the national anthem of New Zealand now, and then we will be underway. And we have got there, yes, the Sharks jersey looks like the 90s jersey, says Pigeon Boy. And I'll be very surprised if we win more than one of the 4 tests against the Box this year. 2 strong up front, 2 quick out wide. And empty stand, Sharks fans afraid of a bit of rain. And also we have got there, there's a cringe name, Hollywood Sharks. Sounds like a Jaws prequel. Yeah, it's just pretty much with the sponsorship, although it's the Hollywood Bets Sharks. So similar to Cell C Sharks in a way, I guess. But they are just shy of Fihi Whiria Norfo. Big opportunity for that man. His first start in an All Blacks kit. We are seeing someone like an Asafua Moe. Didn't get a huge amount of starts in recent times. Normally it was Cody Taylor. Under the Razor era we have got there, is this not a kit clash? Says Gutsia. It is a little bit. But I think because of the fact that it's not like, you know how normally it's the colourblind side of things that they deal with? But seeing as both sides have a little bit of black on the kit, I don't think it clashes in the same way, or they don't have to change it as much. But yeah, the Sharks are, I believe, going to be going with that slightly lighter kit in the All Blacks. Yeah, I just want to see Nonu smash Geordie, says Mike Bester, and so glad the All Blacks got rid of the white collars, says Albert. And countries with great rugby fans, Ireland, Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, Argentina, Wales, Scotland, says Sonny Listen. And there too, but nonetheless, the national anthem of New Zealand has been sung, which means we are close to the kickoff of this matchup. Do, of course, let me know your score predictions in the comments. But yeah, the Sharks have got the white strip across the front of their kit. They are also wearing the white shorts rather than the black shorts that New Zealand do have. Only advantage is this cold weather. Is it the beers stay cold, says Michael there. And Chelsea was a sponsor of the Sharks. And for the weather sponsors, Southwood Company sells C, I should say, from Kyle. The national anthem being sung for the Sharks team. Looking through at their starting lineup, it is Rolofsa alongside Edwin Sport and Vincent Koch as the front row. Stassen alongside Emil van Huren in the locks with Betsy Buthelezi, Manuel Tachuka and Nick Hatton as that number 8 option. Bradley Davids and Fusi Moyo make up the 9 and 10 combo. Besta out on the left wing, Costa and Jorenzo Julius in the midfield. Donovan Don out on the right and Sayaga as the number 15 for the All Blacks in this matchup. Ethan de Groot, Asafua Moore and Fletcher Null make up the front row. Josh Lord alongside Sam Derry in the locks with Tupavai, Wallace Atiti and Luke Jacobson then as the number 8, although they're actually round the other way. They had a little bit of an error on the All Blacks Instagram initially. It's actually Jacobson number 8 and Satiti as their number 7 in the back line. Kyle Preston, he will slot in at 9 with Ruben Love at 10. There was the injury of Cam Roigard, so he will not be making his way off of the bench. And then from there, we've got Caleb Clark out on the left wing. Geordie Barrett and Quintapai make up the midfield for New Zealand. Fihi Whiria Norfo out on the right for his first start in an All Blacks kit. And then Damian McKenzie at number 15. We have to the I like the South African national anthem. Always have since I was a young fella. And Geordie is taller than Luke, says Albert. Yeah, Geordie isn't exactly short, is he? He's got a big amount of size to him, which is why so many people wanted to see him in the fullback role, but now playing more of a battering ram 12 type of opportunity for New Zealand. 76-10. Why is the crowd so poor, says Chris Marshall. I think it is just down to the weather. I'd like to think if this was played on a sunny day, there'd be a lot more people in the stands, but yeah, I know that that's a storyline that now people will run with in terms of, you know, the lack of crowd attendance for this match, but I think it's just the reality of playing this contest on a rainy day. Some maybe could have still gone into the attendance. I don't know how many Hollywood Bets Sharks Durban Park Stadium, I don't know what they call it now, but I don't know how many it holds, but it's a fair few, and they haven't really got them all there. And how's the wind? About 15 kilometres, so not too bad. We have got there. Good evening, Hamish. You excited to see my unknown lineup against the All Blacks? I am, and I'm also excited for this moment here. It's actually going to be Ruben Love who does lead the haka. But I'm curious to know, what does Ma'anonu do here during this All Blacks haka? Are we going to see him squaring up with his All Blacks old side, or is he going to join in? Jacobson is at the front with McKenzie and Quintapai as the two on his sides. We have their rainy Tuesday, and we're having a Will Jordan back injury, but not serious enough to be out of the Greatest Rivalry Tour. It sounds like maybe he'll be back for the Bulls. Ma'anonu, he is not doing the haka, so that answers that question. He is standing and watching on. I'd say probably with a lot of pride. At the end of the day, that man probably never expected to be standing across from the All Blacks rather than beside them. And they are doing kamate before this match gets underway. It's really cold in Durban today, which is unusual for the city. That's why the people haven't come out. Says Hang a Rat. Who's going to New Zealand? Says Mohdeen. And I think the Springboks could be or will be shocked by the All Blacks. Unfortunately, could be 4-0 or 3-1 to the All Blacks, says Gaz, but the haka has been done. 44 years old, Ma'anonu. The thing is, it is all being talked about for the Sharks side about Ma'anonu here, but he won't be featuring in this game maybe until about the 60th minute. Vincent Koch, legend, great player. Yeah, he is still going for the Springboks side, for the Sharks team, and if he plays well and there are an injury or two in the Springboks setup, Ma'anonu is doing his own haka to the All Blacks. This is unexpected. Nonu by himself when he's punching the ground as well. You can see the water. A fairly empty stadium, sad, says JJ, this is so cool. Says Matsu Tendai. But there is the standoff. There was almost the silence as well after the All Blacks did their haka, as if no one was expecting it. I believe his teammates would have been, but this is an awesome moment for some of these young All Blacks players, but even the old All Blacks players. At the end of the day, they would have been standing there not expecting to face Ma'anonu first off, but also in regards to the fact that Ma'anonu, he would have been an idol for a lot of these guys. Ruben Love, I don't even know if that man was born at the time that Ma'anonu started playing professional rugby. All Blacks must be loving this, says Simon Barnes. Ma'anonu, this shows respect for New Zealand as well. They do the same back, but this game now about to get underway. Has game started yet? Not quite. It is about to, though. And much love, Ma'a, says Rio Gamer. And also we have got there, I don't think he can take the challenge without answering. Must be traditional. Says Hang a Rat there. Nonu is 44. Most of the heavyweight boxers are in their late 30s and early 40s. And they fight for 36 minutes. 44 can still do things, says Sonny Listen. Yeah, he'll be able to have some sort of impact off of the bench as well here. This is why rugby is the greatest game ever, says I won't believe everything. And how you did us all proud, says Bronze Man. And some of the Sharkies are behind getting pretty hyped, says Simon Barnes, as you would be. Like, at the end of the day, if that doesn't fire you up as a young Sharks player, you've got a guy in front of you laying down a challenge to your opposition. And again, this is the type of moment you would not normally see. For those Sharks players, they would have never experienced having a haka done on their side of the equation. Some of them may never experience a haka again, but Vusi Moyo in the number 10 jersey, a man who tore up the under-20 scene only about a year ago. He's now got someone by the name of Yakin Ahmed on his heels trying to get that Springbok 10 jersey, but it is kicked off by the Sharks, and we are underway. Awkward bouncing ball from the get-go. New Zealand making hard work of it. Barrett cleaning it up, now booting it down the middle of the park. The Sharks more than likely will go aerial for a lot of the game, and same will the All Blacks when they get the chance to. Kyle Preston cleaned up nicely inside of the All Blacks 22 off the chip and behind from the Sharks, in off the feet. No, in fact, it is going to be an advantage awarded in favour of the Sharks side. Emmanuel Tachuka has to play halfback, popping it up into the hands of Stassen. Now, right-hand side, Tachuka plays halfback again. There's Bradley Davids. I was wondering where their halfback was. And it's going to be still under the advantage in favour of the Sharks side. New Zealand's discipline was something that was talked about heavily after their last contest. Getting over the ball was Wallace Satiti. They will go back for the initial penalty. Nonu was wiping the tears away as he walked off. Says Albert there. And well done, Ma'a. Big respect to him. Says Johnny Blaze. The early penalty awarded against New Zealand, though. Is this what we are going to see throughout this 80 minutes? Similar to last week. But the All Blacks with that counter-attack and the ruck coming from the Sharks. It'll be awesome if Nonu scores when he comes on. Says won't believe everything. And straight away, the Sharks have gone aggressive. They are not eyeing up posts at all in this matchup. They would rather go look for those sevens. Yeah, the counter ruck there, and then just playing it on the ground from Kyle Preston, trying to flick it back onto the side of the All Blacks that little bit further, which is what Matthew Carley has penalised the ABs for. But line out throw here for Edwin Swart. And it's gone into the back, nicely taken by Emmanuel Tichuka, and here comes the rolling maul, the tactic that we did see last week from the Stormers as well. It led to some success. The early try for Hugo Fenta, but Edwin Swart now rolling just that little bit closer. Safwa Moore came through the middle, manages to get that ball, almost keeping it in there, but it's come out the back now for Bradley Davids. Goes away to Costa. Playing from that number 12 jersey. Normally you would see an Andre Esterhazen. We're in that one, but he is with the Springboks, played the most recent game against Argentina. Bradley slated up to Emmanuel Tichuka again. When you talk about men with work rate, he is certainly one of them. Bradley Davids knocks the ball backwards, picked up now by Pepsi Buthelezi. Now, right-hand side, chance here early for the Sharks, almost managing to bust through. They've got numbers on the right-hand side. Emmanuel Tichuka, he's been sat down by Ruben Love, but I think that was more so Love just throwing the body on the line and hoping he could slow the big man down, that they're 5 metres out from the try line now. The Shark side, Edwin Swart again has to carry. New Zealand have to keep their discipline here. Short side for the captain, Haddon. He is going to try and get the grounding, and it's held up. In fact, it was Andre Stassen who was held up in the end. And Nonu will never play for the Bold. I respects them, but his heart bleeds the All Blacks and the Kiwi black and white jersey. Says JJ, as Pollard playing Saturday. Like, is it Andre Pollard? The Box don't actually have a game this weekend. I assume you're talking about for the Bulls, right? But I don't think they'd release him to play. They've already released a few guys like an Ambroise Papier, another big run from Emmanuel Tichuka. Now pick and go. Nicely done by the Sharks. More meters being made. New Zealand trying to find a way of getting a turnover. Big lobby pass over the top from Donovan Don into the hands of Stassen again. Been a busy man in the early stages, the big lock. Now Bradley Davids back into the pocket, finds Vusi Moyo, who goes with the high kick into the All Blacks 22. Geordie Barrett safe under the high ball and does take the mark. No, in fact, it's Damian McKenzie. See what? That's a good effort there from McKenzie. The way he went up for it, I actually thought it was Barrett, but this is a concern. Looks like a rolled ankle of some sort for Damian McKenzie. He is struggling here. I think it's just as he's hit the ground. Get the pressure on him. Oh, yeah, that left ankle may have just gone wonky for Damian McKenzie, and you can see he was favouring it straight away. Amakis has a puncture. Says hang a rat there, but this is a big concern. It looks like he is unable to put pretty much any weight on that left ankle for Damian McKenzie. But he's just gone like that. I believe he wants it strapped up and wants to continue in this game. But you have to ask the question, do you risk him? Or do you straight away start to make changes? In this scenario, they could put Geordie Barrett to 15. They could put Narawa to 15. Is another option there in this back line. Ruben Love could drop to 15. And then, oh no, that's probably too much work because then you've got to try and find another 10. But now Vusi Moyo again will go up for it. McKenzie can't really run here. He's trying to jog along. It's slapped back by the Sharks. Nicely done, but the knock on. No, in fact, it's called his knock backwards. Trying to control it was Ruben Love. They'll call it now as the knock on against the Sharks. But there is big concern for McKenzie here in back play. Still trying to get that weight on that left ankle. A knockback, ref reckons, says Rio Gamer, although he very quickly adjusted it. But McKenzie, you can see the grimace on his face. This is a big moment for not just this match, but for the greatest rivalry tour here. I just see in the replay again. Yeah, just an awkward landing for Damian McKenzie. Take D-Mac off. Bring Damian off. Needs to rest that injury. So yeah, now they're going to try and heavily strap that ankle. We'll see whether or not that works or whether they will have to make that switch, which I honestly think will be coming just around the corner. And they're strapping it, says hang a rat there. It's very cold, just needs to warm up. D-Mac will need to go off now. It looks like McKenzie is going home, says Albert. I wouldn't guarantee he's going home. I would just say in this scenario, you know, you've got to be very cautious about how you approach using him now throughout this 80 minutes. I believe taking him off is a very good option, but at the same time, I guess if he said he's all right and he wants to play on a little bit longer, maybe you got to give him that chance. You got to say, okay, he's saying it's just a bit of a stinger. Big scrum from New Zealand. Now away to Geordie Barrett, slotting in as that number one receiver role, but that was so that he could use his long boot, which has worked effectively, pushing the Sharks back into their 22. This is taken back, so they have to run it out. Here comes the youngster, Siaya. He is one who many are keeping an eye on for the future, and he's getting ripped around on the ground here. I make sure when you get tackled that you keep your mouth closed, or else you get a mouthful of water. The moment on the Durban field, there is plenty of splashing going on, but the ball's still on the side of the Sharks with Bradley Davids. Why risk a starting player, says Albert? I think in this scenario, if you can get a few more minutes out of him, because normally I'm the firm belief that if a guy's injured, take him off. But in this scenario for Damian McKenzie, I also do think if he is said he's good to go, and he feels like it's just a stinger, you've got to trust your players too. Like, at the end of the day, he isn't a new kid on the block. He's been around for a long time, McKenzie. So you'd assume he knows his body well and wouldn't take this unnecessary risk. He's already moving a little bit better. Now, Sam Derry, tackle round the halfway line. Back to Preston. And now Ruben Love going down the field again. That's a good kick from Love. And it's a 50-22. Found a gap behind them. And makes the most of it there, Love. He's had multiple starts throughout the Nations Championship. And we have got there, field is wet, says Johnny Blaze. And 50-22 says Albert, it certainly was. Nicely controlled by Ruben Love for that kick. Perfect kick with Love, says Derek there. Marshall just saying that they need to work better as a combination at the back there for the Sharks to be able to control that, or at least to not have it happen again. Now Luke Jacobson, the captain, pops it off to a Safua Moore. Passes away to Clark, who straightens into the run of Vusi Moyo. Now back across Preston goes to Derry. He was impressive in his first two matches, but a penalty one for the South African side. It is Roloff in the number one jersey. And come on, says such brilliant kick. Says cool story there. Shouldn't be a choice, make a decision. His own coach, I will be bricking it, says Eric. And there's a little grass in that water, says Hangarat. The penalty one for Nemo Rolofsa in the number one jersey. Vuse Moyo will sink it downfield. The All Blacks will be a little bit disappointed with how that move has ended. Definitely with the fact that they were able to get that 50-22 just moments before. Trying to get that clean out. It was a relatively effective one. The Sharks aren't playing. They are swimming, says Albert. 9 minutes into the contest, head one Swart. Ready for this line out there. I've got the youngster off the bench and Liam van Wyk. Just getting the numbers for the line out. Coming to New Zealand, get a try already, says Jasmine there. A little bit of a slower start for New Zealand in terms of the scoreboard. Same with the Sharks. That was poor. Derry ran away from a support, says another boy. He just got himself a little bit isolated there, and then lightning quick. Rolofsa does deserve a bit of credit for the way that he was able to get in there. A little bit similar to what we saw from Fori in the last Stormers clash, but throwing this ball and no one really getting up for New Zealand on the line out, and now the Sharks start to march it a little bit further towards the halfway line. They've been told to use it once at the back. Edwin Swart hanging on to it, and now the advantage. New Zealand playing at the arm there. Manuel Tishuka tackled by Jacobson as the water again splashes all over the place. Bradley Davids chips it in behind, taken initially by Costa, who then has it go through the grip. I'll go back now for another Sharks penalty. Snowing today in Hillcrest for the first time in history. Should McKenzie continue? Bit tricky, says Mashihu. Yeah, it is a difficult one because, because we're so early on in the game, I think they're a bit hesitant to take him off just now because of the fact that they have only, I guess, Imoni Narawa would be your fullback cover in this scenario. Or Geordie Barrett. You bring Timothy Tavanawai in the centres and you drop Barrett back to fullback. Geordie Barrett, is he not playing? Did he retire or what? I assume you're talking about Bowden. Bowden not playing in this contest. He did play last game against the Stormers though. And, every time someone gets tackled, it looks like someone is diving into a pool. Yeah, it's pretty wet on the Durban field, and I believe the rain maybe has lightened up a little bit just for now. But it has been raining pretty much non-stop for the last 2 days. So plenty of water around for this match. But Edwin Swart now with the line out, sitting about 15 metres out from the All Blacks line. It's gone in nicely taken, and that was a bit of an early engagement from New Zealand too by the looks of it, but no advantage given as of yet. Swart with the ball at the back of the rolling maul, being well defended by Ethan Agru. Satiti there too, now pick and go. Edwin Swart runs into a Safwa Moore. Manages to wrestle him down. I think Jacobson got sacked down in that last challenge. Quinton Pyer looking for the turnover, can't get it. Davids goes up now to Stassen again. Now popping it up to Vincent Koch. So about the 12 metres from the try line for the Sharks, but they have had some pretty decent territory at the moment. Line outs take 2 minutes now. Says Studs race. Now a nice step there from Stassen, who's lost the headgear. So many times that man has hit the line already. Bradley Davids goes across to the right again, and a new penalty advantage against New Zealand. Bradley Davids knocks it on in the back, but again, the Sharks will be able to try and build some sort of moment here. But New Zealand's penalty count, we talked about it last week in their game against the Stormers. It is certainly still happening often here. Please no TMO nonsense today, and the line-out's a slow, says Nada Boy, and it looks like again they are going to be opting for that line-out here for the Sharks. Vusi Moyo kicks that one into touch. It'll be about 5 metres out from the line. And All Blacks need to stop the offside penalty, says Hangarat. How many penalties already, says Reshi? They are up to 3 or 4 already against this All Black side. Go the Sharks, says Grand there. Okay, Matthew Carley just trying to speed along these lineouts now by the looks of it. He is saying that it's taken just a tad too long to be able to get into the position. TMO will get involved. I'm calling it now. And I have the ambition, says Sash. And they're two, but Edwin Swart haven't been able to go too far forward off the rolling maul so far. That doesn't mean that this one can't find success. They are going to throw it into the back, taken by Emmanuel Tichuka. Nice engagement from New Zealand this time. It looks like they've been able to shut it down, and it tracks for now. Was in the hands of Pepsi Buthelezi, I believe. Wallace Satiti's come through the middle there, and it's unplayable for the Sharks. New Zealand will have the scrum 5 metres out from their line. I can see the Sharks taking this today, says Josh. Well, they've certainly started in a good fashion in that regard. They've managed to go 13 minutes without conceding, and they've actually had more of the ball and more of the territory throughout the early stages of this game. Sharks, we believe in you, says Grand there. And the rolling balls don't work anymore, says Hanger Rat. And also we have got there, Yip, says Sash. And also we have got there, Go Big, says Jeff. And also the Sharks player lifts legs in the maul, no penalty, says Nada Boy. Although the All Blacks do have the ball anyway in this scenario, after being able to defend it, it will give them a lot of confidence when it comes to that rolling maul defence. But a scrum now 5 metres out from their own line. New Zealand looking to get this one out there and then be able to more than likely kick downfield, although they might consider trying to run it too. But it is the push there at scrum time. It's an advantage now in favour of New Zealand. Satiti trying to pass it to Preston, losing a few metres, but New Zealand get the penalty. Quick tap taken by Kyle Preston. Aggressive mindset from the number 9, sniping through the opposition. Now going for the 50-22 kick. That is brilliant work from Kyle Preston, but the ball just sits up in the rain and stops all. That was a bit high from Pehefri Novfo. They may check to see if it was a high shot or not. Okay, there's a double blow of the whistle. They are calling to at least check this one, the shot on Bester. Amateur champion says Zaffa there. Okay, I believe the TMO is just having a quick little check here. In fact, that they've awarded it as a penalty. That is going to go the penalty in favour of the Sharks with a high shot from Fehefri Anofo, but a brilliant run from Kyle Preston being able to snipe through and then just getting the height of the tackle wrong there. Tell you what, they've ruled it as a penalty. We have seen those ones go yellow in recent times. It seems like just for now it's going to be a plain penalty, and now that the ball's been kicked out, they can't go back to it. And other TMO stuff against these Hangarat. Yeah, that one was more so the touch judge, I believe, who did rule that. Just my score, please. Did not realise it's water polo and not rugby, says Johan. And replay showed actual head contact. I agree. We've seen those, like I said, we've seen those given yellow before. But in this scenario, it just means that the discipline of the All Blacks is again just lacking. The early stages clearly force going up, says Sash. I'm glad that's not a yellow, says Matsu Tendai. And anyway, says Sash, And they're two, but Edwin Swart now with the line out taken by the captain, Haddon, pops it back to Davids. They're still inside of their 22, although Pepsi Putalese has managed to run it outside of it. A few Fihi lucky, says Dunk there, absolute yellow, says cool story. What do you think about Rennie's approach of not telling the team who's playing until the squad announcement? Oh, nice take there from Fihi Whirianofo, but he's injured here. He looks like he's potentially winded the contact. But slow getting back up to his feet, maybe lower back, hurting a bit there too for Fihi Whirianofo. But yeah, it's an interesting tactic. Although I also do think that when you're in the group training on the last day when the game was taking place, like the Stormers match, for instance, the guys who were playing in this game were in training, a majority of them, so you'd probably have a little bit of an idea. But yeah, it does make it very difficult to get that chemistry right from the get-go if you're unaware of who you're actually playing alongside. But I guess that's also to just stop it from getting leaked. A free kick awarded to New Zealand there. The line out, so Kyle Preston again just trying to call the shots. Thought about a quick tap. Now we have there the All Blacks getting penalised in this game. Ridiculous, says JJ, and also All Blacks need to learn the rules. Well, they're laws, aren't they? We have got there, how's it, Hamish, says Yanko. And also these All Blacks look like they don't really want to be there. Says, oh, well, it's a terrible day in terms of weather. But that's going to be a tough one. Nicely slapped back by Quinn Tupaia. Jumping on it was Lord. Pops it up to Fletcher Null. Decides to run it straight at Davids. Now 22 metres from the line for the All Blacks. Popped to behind Tupaia. Through the hands there. Nicely to McKenzie. Looks like that ankle's recovered. Vai cuts inwards and sitting 5 metres short of the line. Now short side run from Kyle Preston. But isolated there. Rolofsa trying to get that ball. Now Ethan de Groot throwing himself at the opposition line. Fihi Whirianofo plays short side again to Derry. Now pick and go attempted there. There is the advantage. Oh, referee was just about to give the penalty, but then changes it back to the advantage again. And Fihi Whirianofo in the corner has scored his first try for the All Blacks. This is Dunedin weather. Yeah, although Dunedin's now got a roof. So that's like one big bonus that they got. But Fihi Whirianofo, first try of the match for the All Blacks. It's 18 minutes in. He's still not walking too flash. It seems like that lower back is giving him a bit of trouble. But nicely done by Josh Lord, delaying his pass initially. And my Sky Sport has stopped, says Johnny Blaze. I think there is a try now. There certainly is good low body position, but it was close to the sideline. They may have another look at it. These players are basically surfing, says Matsu Tendai. And we have got there, you need here like that for rain, says Derek, and he went for a swim and got a try as a prize. And what's the crowd attendance? It's not very high for this matchup due to the bad weather and coldness that we have seen. I still would have thought we'd see a few more in the stands. Well, this matchup, a Ruben Love from the sideline. That is a very good strike, and it hits the post and goes over. Giving the All Blacks now the 7 points to 0 lead. The Sharks doing well so far. What's the penalty count? It looks like New Zealand coaches have decided to ignore rugby laws. It's about 6-1, I believe, in the penalty department currently. And who's going to win again? Says Ngāti Kahu. And also with all these potential injuries, a 50-man squad should have been taken, says Rishi. And called that first try, says MJ or MKG. But yeah, Fihi Whirianofo is still not having fun with his back. He's got the medic talking to him. He's very much so looking like, you know, when you've got like that tight back and you can't really fully rotate. He seems like he's pretty straight up and down at the moment, Fihi Whirianofo. So hopefully he'll be able to recover. The last thing that the All Blacks want is to lose him and McKenzie from this game. Although McKenzie has been continuing, actually got himself in a good position there and seems to be back to running at 100%. Or at least close to the 100. Kyle Preston adding men to the breakdown so that he can go for the box kick. They're 25 metres out from their own line here, New Zealand. This one booted up high. A guy who should have had a yellow score, correct? Yes. Now going up for it for Whirianofo. It's ruled as the knock on. Barrett's now down. Is he getting back up here? Barrett, Tupavai going over to help him out. Sharky's done well so far. Let's hope they don't run out of juices. And also any tour is very difficult for the team playing away, says Hanger Rat. Yeah, that will also test the back for Fihi Whirianofo. Looks like one leg went one way and the body went the other. And who came on for McKenzie? No one yet. McKenzie's still out there. He is trying to really just power through it for now. The ankle is heavily strapped. And make sure penalties in yellow should be managed properly. The All Blacks can win nicely, says Mashihu. And also we have got there, you're not cross. With Mutton on who are you, says Red Howard. No, I'm of the mindset it's just absolutely awesome that he's still playing. Like, he's 44 years old and he's still playing professional rugby. Like, he should be definitely praised rather than critiqued. Like, yes, it's up against New Zealand, but like that haka moment before the game is something we have never seen, at least in recent times that I can think of, a player doing a solo haka against an old international team that he played for 13 years against. Kyle Preston, Geordie Barrett now looking to go for the kick and behind, 50-22 on the cards. It's gone through the hands of Siyaya, very close to the sideline, and decides to go for the chip and behind rather than going for the big kick, and it is backfired. Wallace Satiti now sitting about 12 metres out from the All Blacks line. Kyle Preston looking short side, back on the infield to Luke Jacobson. Captain, seems like he is recovered, or at least has recovered from that big bump off that he suffered earlier on in the match. Up to group now. Middle of the field, round the 22-metre line. Quintal Pye, chipper behind. 3 men there for New Zealand. Picked up by McKenzie, who looks like he's managed to finish it off for New Zealand. And that is their second try now of this match. I had a bit of a giggle. I've noticed your voice gets a bit Grover from Sesame Street during the period. It just sort of tries to score, says Mark, in another training session for the All Blacks. I don't give him much away, says Donald Carr. And there was a knock-on, says Hangarat. It did look like the ball almost got knocked on by the wave of water that tried to stop McKenzie from scoring, but Siyaya just making the wrong choice there of going for a chip rather than the boot downfield. And we have got there, Jigga First says, another boy. Yeah, I think they'll just make sure. Ooh. Was pretty close to that one sneaking out of the grasp of Damian McKenzie. And he has a legend, says JJ D-Mac. May have fumbled it there. Check on the pickup. But great stuff by New Zealand, says Studs Rays Mata as best, arguably the best centre ever. Most New Zealanders are proud of him wherever he plays. And Ruben Love has just managed to sneak that one over too. So 14-0 now for New Zealand. But it did not take long from the first try being scored to the second now. McKenzie, it looks like he's actually, I think he was getting either that strapping replaced or he has now ditched some of the strapping. They're going to show the replay again here for McKenzie. Yeah, he's knocked that on. He has knocked that on. They've just shown the replay from the other angle. Now we've got the double blow of the whistle, and we are going right back, and I think this one's going to be disallowed, ladies and gents. See, the thing is, right, it was a knock-on, definitely. It was. Right from the get-go, looked like it was a little bit of a fumble. Why did we not check this a minute and a half ago? Why did they still go with the kick? Why did they still, like, the TMO has these angles that we are now just seeing. You know? Like, why? It's similar to that one that we saw in the South Africa-Argentina game, how it went back a couple minutes to then say, yes, that was disallowed. Okay, loses control of the ball. It's going to be no try for Damian McKenzie. Then they finally got to the decision. Now the question is, do they take back that 60 seconds that it took for Ruben Love to line up the kick? No, unfortunately, we lose that time out of the game. They'll go back now for a scrum 5 metres out from the Sharks line. I have sharp eyes, Hamish, but I don't think it should be allowed to check after the kick, says Hanger Rat. And good point, says Ruan Nell. They lose so many minutes, says Rio Gamer. Yeah, New Zealand pretty much running to the scrum now. The Sharks were already at halfway. They had accepted that it was going to be a try. I do see the big man, Kone Ral, and the number 19 jersey is out there on the field. I know initially it was supposed to be Vincent Tachuka, but Ral has made his way on. But now, scrum feed. Morning Amish top commentary, says Simon. Welcome in. Morning Amish, morning chat. I'm all for Ma'anonu taking to the field against us. Up the Canes. And also, we have got there going to be a try anyway, says Hanger Rat. And also, Hamish and fellow watchers, wet weather usually means a low-scoring game and lots of handling errors. Let's hope we see a half-decent game, says Anthony there. And we've got there, the TMO are bad, really, says Apollos. But yeah, like, I don't mind when a TMO gets involved, when they do it fast enough, you know? Like when it's within, you know, like that forward pass call. As much as people were like, that's a bit rough when they called the forward pass right at the time. But that's what you want. The instant feedback from the TMO. That is a penalty now to the Sharks at scrum time. No, the man who's been penalised. That's ridiculous, says Rishi. And also clear knock on. Yeah, that's the slight downside of it. It never looked like he had complete control of the ball, McKenzie. So at best, it would have been 50-50. But that's when the TMO had a lot of time to still look at it. Now, Vuse Moyo will kick that ball downfield, about 30 metres out from their line now, the Sharks. Unfortunately, it was a knock-on, frustrating. Do think they should have checked it straight away. And also, they shouldn't have been allowed in the first place. And the faster TMO support needs systematic change from IRB. They are just showing penalties instead of 5-0 at the moment. Although the Sharks were penalised earlier in the game when Kyle Preston did take that quick tap. But I guess because it was a quick tap, they ignored it. Maybe. 25 minutes through. And it is currently 7-0. Scoreboard does not want to take that try back. And Bester, my brother, says Neil Bester. Is it actually your brother or is it just same last name? Vusi Moyo going to be kicking this ball downfield from within the Sharks 22. Going up for the ball was Ruben Love. He almost overran it but managed to come back nicely and still control that one at the back. Now Kyle Preston popping it away to Tupovai McKenzie, one-handed run. Yeah, he's ditched the tape on his ankle, so that's a good sign for New Zealand's fullback. Now Quinn Tupai running for ball on the inside to Lord. Tries to go over the top of Vuse Moyo. Preston quickly going away to the right-hand side to Groot, tackled low by Davids. Now Preston again, moving it across to the left-hand side where Caleb Clark was waiting to have the run. The call from Lord to go to the right rather than left there. There is now the advantage. And now is it they can spot foul play in seconds and miss an easy knock on? Yeah, and that's once again the frustrating part of it, isn't it? The fact that some things take moments for them to spot and others that seem straightforward take them a minute and a half. What is the real score? Real score is 7-0. Just doesn't want to take back that second All Blacks try for some reason. Well, also, I was absolutely dragging that scrum down, says Studs Race. That is going to be a penalty for New Zealand right in the middle of the park. We have got there... Again, he's disrespecting Danny Gerber. Very classy, says Call Me. And also we have got there, don't know who he is, but you all know Ma'anonu is. So here's Naiti Kahu. Now ready to kick this one towards the 5-metre line for Ruben Love. Gets it out, I'd say, about 7 or 8 metres from the line. This is a good chance for New Zealand to try and get that try back. And Jacques Faria as the GOAT, says Sashi, can clearly see the All Blacks trying to speed things up, says Nada Boy, who scored. So far we've seen Whihi Whinianofo. And then Damien McKenzie almost scored, but it was disallowed. And currently the scoreboard hasn't taken it back. But they are going to try and get a rolling ball going here. New Zealand, a Safua more situated at the back of it. Now Preston looking away to the right-hand side. Bradley Davids calling for his defenders to get wide, and it was probably a good call as Geordie Barrett goes for the cross kick. Nice take from Whihi Whinianofo. Ball on the inside to McKenzie, and this time he'll score the try for New Zealand. And still a little bit ginger as he gets up. That time it looked like it was actually a little bit higher, maybe the knee for McKenzie, but a brilliant finish. So he scored the try that he almost had before, in almost the same position on the field too. We have there, Gerber is a good shout of a Jacques Ferry though, says Sashbro. And also we have got the Sharks are not as good as the Stormers, no chance, says David Pearce. And also we go there you go, he finally got his try, says Hanger Wrap, but nicely taken by Whihi Whinianofo off the cross kick of Barrett and a beautiful inside ball. And McKenzie hitting, oh no, he hasn't grounded that one either. He's actually in touch there, Damien McKenzie. I think this one needs to be checked, and hopefully they check it now. I don't think McKenzie got the grounding before his legs slid round into touch. Right. Ruben Love's saying, I've only got 8 seconds on the shot clock. Matthew Carley's going, we're going to stop and have a look at this one. This is going to be disallowed too, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be off. This is going to be ruled off again. Timo, hurry up and check it, says Johnny Blaze. And bad kick from Barrett. He had to reach back to catch it, says Nada Boy. And stop, not a try. It's going to be no try. I believe McKenzie has been tackled into touch there, and he is going to have 2 disallowed tries now. We're going to see the replay. It was the work of Vuse Moyo. Yeah, there's no... I don't think there's a grounding. And Vuse Moyo did come flying in there. Yeah, he's done brilliantly, Vuse Moyo. They're just checking to see if his feet is in touch. Have we had a player have 2 disallowed tries in a row in a match? We have their penalty try, tackler Needham, says Studs Race. It's pretty hard to see where Okay, Justin Marshall was saying he's hit the corner post, which is not out. That scoreboard will be right eventually, says Mark. Oh, the base of the ball is very close to grounded. I think this is going to be ruled as in touch. You can clearly hear it from New Zealand. Tomorrow, blame it the TMO, says Albert. But this one, again, they are checking. Okay, they're going to rule this as a try here. They're going to stay with the on-field decision of try, as they have said that the on-field decision of try was not, it's not able to be overruled. And oh my goodness, it's a sign for him to get off the field. Rest your injury, mate, says JJ. And also, we look at that, it was an All Blacks player. He would have been sent off, says Matthew there. And can we rate the team so far out of 10 on this wet and cold night? I'd say the Sharks defensively haven't been too shabby as a whole. I'd probably give them about a 5. New Zealand, you'd probably give a 6. I think there's still a lot to be desired. In fact, you'd probably go 5 for New Zealand as well because of the amount of penalties that they've given away. A team I work in overtime says won't believe everything. But the thing is, they've restarted the shot clock for Ruben Love too. And he's got the kick over, but that used up an extra 30 seconds. So again, we're just having so many moments where we're losing time out of the game. The 80 minutes of rugby is normally not 80 minutes anymore. You maybe get 60 minutes of rugby and 20 minutes of stoppages that haven't got a clock that's stopped. But a good finish from McKenzie, I guess, in the corner. But now the score 14-0 in favour of New Zealand. Under his arm, ball not touching the ground. Even I can see that, says Cool Story, and nobody wants to watch when it's all one-sided. Tickets cost money, says Donald Carr. And what time did it start? So it did start at 7 p.m. South African time. But the game itself, we've lost about 4 minutes so far. Now, kick downfield, nicely taken by, I think it was, would have been Bester. Couldn't remember his name for a second. Bradley Davids goes off to Vincent Koch. And can TMO be carving out to a separate sport and leave rugby alone? Says DRJ. Rolling it back. Davids is going to be opting for the box kick here. New Zealand currently have got the 2 tries, both coming from their back 3. Nicely taken by Ruben Love, met by Bester. Did I tell you I'm getting married 7th of September? You didn't. It initially was going to be like the start of the year, wasn't it? Or at Christmas time. But now it's Siaya. This one goes high. Donovan Don looking to go aerially. Quintapaya manages to get that one and slap it back onto the side of New Zealand. Damien McKenzie looking for the 50-22. He's going to bounce it in the field of play and it just pulls up. Bradley Davids crossed to Vusi Moyo. Almost had a bit of a slip when he was kicking that one, but that is a very good kick. Decided to take it quickly was Barrett. Now pops it on the inside to Love up to the halfway line for New Zealand with Caleb Clark. He will go for a cross-field kick and it's a bit too much on it from Clark. Goes into touch and New Zealand now can seat the line out. I love is what the All Blacks need. Not enough people talk about minutes wasted in game due to TMO intervention. Due to TMO intervention. So respect for that, says Josh. But yeah, it's something that just, even, you look at this game so far. We had the minute of Ruben Love. And you look at that game of the South Africa versus Argentina game. We lost 2 or 3 minutes out of that game. Because of the late call of, they waited until the try to then find that it was out. What's the correct score? This is the correct score. 31 minutes in, 14-0. Try for Fihi Whinianofo and also for Damien McKenzie. Line out stolen by New Zealand with Derry managing to get their hands up to it. Now Geordie Barrett, he will go for the kick in behind again. New Zealand looking for a 50-22. I have to say, there is a real lack of cover from the Sharks when it comes to New Zealand's 50-22 attempts. The thing that is saving them is the fact that the ball is just stopping as soon as it bounces. The referee should have the final decision as he's controlling the game, not the TMO. If he says it's dry, and it should. Any decision with the TMO should be settled after the game. Says Sorel there. And who do you think has advantage so far between the Box and the All Blacks in terms of first team players getting some minutes before the first test? Oh, that one's going to be another knock-on. In fact, a double knock-on here. But I would say that both sides are in different situations because, we've seen the first team players playing up against Argentina, some of which for South Africa, but then we've also seen New Zealand now giving those guys a bit of a chance. So by the end of the game, it will be relatively even. in terms of those minutes played, which should shape up to be quite an even first test match with a bit of luck. New Zealand only talk about the time the TMO takes, but want to ignore knock-ons, four passes, and head-eye tackles, says Yonedling. I think it depends on who you talk to. Because, like, for instance, we've called that shot from Fihifini Nofo should have been a yellow. It was too high on Bester. In terms of that McKenzie one, that was the right call for the knock-on. So, yeah, I think it just depends on which Kiwi you talk to as well. Narawa says Sash Bro there. And just when I woke up, I haven't says Josiah. So far, 2 tries from New Zealand, although the early penalty count was ramping up against the Kiwis, although they've just won the penalty for side entry from the Sharks. And they've been marched forward 10 as well, New Zealand, due to the Sharks delaying it with Murray Costa. And we have got their 14 points handed to the All Blacks. Terrible calls by the ref and the TMO. Says, try again, Muppet. So what would you say was wrong with the first try from Fihi Whirianofo, try again? Because I agree that the second one of McKenzie was ruled out. And to be fair, like the third try, or I guess that second attempt at a try from McKenzie could have easily been no try too. But the first one, I don't think there was too much wrong with it, was there? From Fihi Whirianofo. And we have got their clean straight, says Sash. How the All Blacks been playing? They haven't been doing too badly. We see there Amoni Narawa. Who is he on the field for? Is that for Fihi Whirianofo or for Damian McKenzie? I actually missed that sub. A bit off too much there, Nutter Boy. I should have got a yellow card so he wouldn't have been on the field. Hey, says try again. Oh, yeah, I agree that he should have had a yellow card. Okay, so you're saying that New Zealand, the only reason they're ahead is because the TMO are helping them. We have their box are going to eat New Zealand. CSQ Physics and Damien try was not a try. Says Martin van Frensburg, if you follow the rules, the TMO will not need to get involved. Says Ruan Nell. What's good, brother? What's your take on Nonu taking on his home team? Do you think New Zealand will go hard on him? Not at all. I think there's a lot of mutual respect there. Nonu even did a haka back to New Zealand. The whole New Zealand side did their haka to the Sharks. And then from there, Nonu stood forward in front of the rest of his teammates and delivered a one-man haka, which was a really awesome moment for a lot of these young New Zealand players. Us Kiwis like to win fairly. We have a legacy and a reputation to uphold. And this game is dragging its feet. Says Hanger Rat now moving away to Vuse Moyo. Pops it across to Jarenzo Julius. That's the first time we've seen that man in this contest. In fact, I can't think of a time that he's actually carried the ball as of yet in this one. New Zealand always get help from the ref. Says Martin there. And also go, man, as a South African, I'm not sure why any South African would think a club team will win New Zealand. Says, what the hell, no more beers? Oh, sorry, no more bees, I should say. But yeah, it looks like Narawa, I want to say, is on for, it's either McKenzie or Fihi Whirianofo. Okay, it's McKenzie who's off. Narawa is on the field and he has just booted that ball into touch. So it seems like Ruben Love has dropped back to fullback. So that makes me very curious to know who's actually playing from that number 10 jersey. Maybe even Geordie Barrett is in there. And New Zealanders are accustomed to New Zealanders playing against New Zealand. Says Studs Race. And also, how has my man Fihi Whirianofo been playing as he scored? He has scored. Yes, he scored the first try of the contest. He's had some decent moments. He's also got a bit of a sore back at the moment with how he landed in the early stages of the game. I don't see D-Max is hanging around. So, yeah, he is off. And Narawa is on. He's probably done well to make it as far as he did, Damian McKenzie, in the game with the ankle concerns. I actually do think in the process of scoring the most recent try for McKenzie, he did hurt his knee, it looked like, too. And I think Sir Hamish says Darren Redding doing very well. Currently, Jarenzo Julius hitting the ball up for the Sharks. Currently, we are 37 minutes through this contest, going away to the left-hand side to Murray Costa. And we have it there. Let's go Narawa. Says just me there too. Jarenzo Julius. Now up to Ethan Negru. Sharks could win this. CSQ Physics. And how many genuine All Blacks are in this team? Surely it's a proper B team. Says endless. I would say of the players in this lineup, I'd say about 8 or 9 will be starting up against South Africa. Somewhere around there. So as outside centre for the All Blacks, currently Quinn Tupaia. And I believe he will be there for the test matches. We recently saw that injury of Billy Proctor. He will not be returning for the rest of the tour. But they haven't actually announced the replacement for him as of yet. It's rumoured that it could be Moonga. It's rumoured that they might put in an extra lock or an extra halfback. But yeah, nothing completely confirmed as of yet. Looks like Vincent Koch has a bit of an injury near the end of this first half, something to do with the back of his neck. I just don't like this type of play, honestly, says DD. And D-Mac unlucky. Deserved to score 2 clean tries, says Ruan now. And that was a bit high on Vincent Koch by the looks of it, by Luke Jacobson. Okay, they are saying that it has been cleared as that he was dipping. And we have there rating for Kyle Preston so far. I think he's been a really solid option for New Zealand. I'll probably give him about an 8 out of 10. Who's fullback now for the test? I don't think, like, we can't say McKenzie's out completely. Might still be there. But I would say if McKenzie's out, you're looking at either Morby or Will Jordan. And I actually think there is a way that you can put Will Jordan at 15 and then put Fihi Whitianofo out on the right wing or have Morby there. I'd say that Morby, though, if they're going Jordan and Morby in the back three, they'll put Morby at 15. As this rugby, since I started watching the game at about 28 minutes, I saw a try. Should have been disallowed, and All Blacks chasing the kick when he is clearly in front of the ball, says Johan. Well, if you've only noticed 2 infringements, Johan, you've probably had a slow day at the office. We know how much you like to complain, but now going to the short side, see Yaya tackled by Caleb Clark as the Sharks look to score just before the halftime break. And that one unplayable for the Sharks. They couldn't quite get it out of the maul. So New Zealand will now have the scrum. So Yaya has been horrendous, says DD. And we have there, if Nonu plays well, will Rennie call him up? He technically can't, unfortunately, due to that rule that New Zealanders have to have played in New Zealand first. Mackenzie injured? Yes. Looked like an ankle injury at the start and then maybe even a knee at the end of it. Alcia Kolesi, sore calf at the moment. And Dion Fari's been brought in for him. It seems unlikely that he'll play the first test and maybe even the next couple for Sia Kolesi. And also, it's so cold in South Africa now. New Zealand must feel at home. Says, what the hell? Yeah, it's pretty chilly. I think it was 10 degrees they had near the start of this game, so it's probably dropped to about 8 or so. And, of course, there is also that rain that they are dealing with. But Kyle Preston about to feed this ball in for New Zealand, who have scored the 2 tries in this first half. Still 1 minute remaining, though, to potentially get the third big push at scrum time. And advantage goes the way of the Kiwis. While Satiti passes across to Tapaio, drops to the knee, moves it on to Barrett. Now Ruben Love with a lot of space to work with. Cutting back in, trying to get through the tackle attempt to Bester. Our ball's loose, picked up by the Sharks, but they'll go back for the penalty. We have there, corporate greed. Held the family day out of rugby. Says Sock there. And we have there, evening Hamish, lovely shirt. Says Ruth, thank you very much. And see his body is on borrowed time. Says Darren, and see for Waterboy is the first test. Or for the Waterboy in the first test. Yeah, he'll be somewhere in the environment, I think, for Sia Kolesi. The All Blacks are looking sloppy. Says Q Physics. Yeah, it's a little bit shaky in the early stages. I of course, as soon as I say this, people will go, oh, it sounds like excuses to me. But the weather has played a bit of a factor in how these two sides have handled the ball and in terms of how they have played throughout the first half. It's been quite interesting, though, the amount of 50-22 attempts we've seen from New Zealand throughout the first 40 is they don't normally opt for 50-22s more than once or twice a game. They've gone for it about 5 or 6 times, and none of those times the Sharks have had it covered. It's only been because of the fact that the field is so wet that the ball just stops. Kyle Preston going back to the halfway line. Now moving it on. Geordie Barrett, loose ball. Kick forward almost for Lorenzo. Julius Clark might be injured now too. A little bit slow getting back up to his feet. Ball goes over the head of Fihi Whitianofo. And now it's going to be halftime. 14-0 in favour of the All Blacks. No excitement in the game. Listening sounds boring. Says Donald Carr. Yeah, there hasn't really been a huge amount of action throughout the first 40 minutes. Preston has the X-Factor vibe, says Q Physics. And also better defence. Just too many stop-starts, says Mike. And also we have got there, will the Kiwis crucify the All Blacks due to the high standards? Probably. I think that no matter how well they go, they'll find something to try and complain about them with. It's like how, at the moment, as we've learnt throughout the last weekend as the perfect example, no matter how well or poorly New Zealand and South Africa played, the fans of the other team were always going to try and get under the skin on social media. It's been a brutal place this last week I've seen. AB0 account is hurting them. Score should have been bigger. We're at 6 in Johannesburg, freezing. Says Michelle there. And we have got there, I don't like halftime, bring them back, says Albert. They'll want a little bit of a spell, I would think. 1 second, we'll go like this. And we'll go like this as well. I'm going to set a halftime timer. as we normally do. It's about 15 minutes that you expect for the halftime break, so hopefully it runs relatively smooth. What's the longest run of phases? 4 by the Sharks at the start of the game. Yeah, maybe the All Blacks, I'd say we haven't seen anyone go double digits yet, but we've probably seen about 6 or 7 or so. I mean, there's seriously some passes need to be sorted by now, says Mike. And just came here to say and see if everyone else sees it. Says Ashley there. Coming here to say and see if anyone sees it, says Ashley. What was it that you said, Ashley? Was it earlier on or you're about to say it, maybe? So boring from the Sharks says it's Nino. What is your non-biased prediction for the South Africa versus New Zealand? I believe it's going to be 2-2. I'm thinking a 2-2 or a 3-1 South Africa. That's my honest take on the series. But I think that for the sake of this greatest rivalry tour keeping its momentum for the future times that it happens, a 2-2 would be fantastic. Because it's still, and a 3-1 to a certain extent would be fantastic too. You just want it to be close enough that it then builds up the hype for the World Cup. And also alongside that, just keeps people invested in like the top few sides around the world. All Blacks not either, or even out of second gear and still looking comfortable. Still upset they left D-Mac out there so long, says Broderick. And also still the same issues in my view. Not impressed with this All Blacks team, says CH. We have got them, why am I watching you when I can watch the actual game on TV, says Q Physics. That is a question that only you will know the answer to. And I always trust the Sharks. That's disappointing. Lackluster performance so far. Extremely poor tempo in the first half, says CH. And also, if this is the best, the All Blacks, I see a nightmare at altitude. But guys have not been released yet, says Nicholas. And also, we have got there nodding with the haka response. Absolutely brought a tear to our eyes. GOAT status. And Sharks don't have an answer. Just kick. Says Neo there. And to be fair, that was a tactic that worked for the Stormers, though. They were able to get those kicks going with Ahmed. I don't think Fusi Moyo has been as clinical off the boot as we saw Ahmed be. We need a line out. Shot clock, 30 seconds from the point of the linesman flags going up. Well, they actually had almost something similar to that at one point, didn't they? They had a time where if you did a team huddle, you got free kicked. Was the fourth test in the USA? I don't actually really know. I guess money-wise. Right, anyone who was here for the build-up knows that when I decided to take a drink of water, the whole stream cut out. So we're going to take a risk. I'm going to try and drink the water again, and hopefully the stream doesn't randomly just cut completely. We're good. Didn't cut out that time. Is it not halftime? It is indeed. Yes, 14-0 at the moment in favour of New Zealand. The 2 tries, one from Damian McKenzie, and then also the other one was scored earlier on from Fihi Whitianofo. And sent in the Nations Cup, the team was heads up rather than down. When there was a mistake, we have there. I wanted to be 2-2 New Zealand. Need their spark back. That would be a massive confidence boost. Not that they are bad now. They still are the second best team in the world. But it's a coin toss. And also, did D-Mac pick up another injury scoring his try? I believe so. I think it actually seemed like it was a higher-up injury in terms of Damian McKenzie. First initial one was the ankle, and then I think it was actually more so knee when he did finish it off. Bully coach, that's what you get from Aussie's sloppy seconds. Says Jamin, they're still sitting undefeated since Rennie took over. So I feel like, yes, there are times where it doesn't look that flash, and yes, there are times where the discipline isn't great, but until they lose a game, like, it's not the end of the world. And I do think that people have really, like, panicked in terms of the early stages of the tour, and I do know that that is because of the rivalry that is happening for New Zealand and South Africa, because of the back and forth that we've seen over the past few years. But, like, if you win ugly, the thing is, I know this is going to be, once again, a little bit controversial. I don't think it's a mile, though, in terms of controversy. But I would rather them play poorly in these games against the URC sides than play poorly in the test matches. If you had to pick, would you rather have them play excellent rugby here and then absolutely bomb against the South Africans? Or would you rather them play these games, look a little bit shaky, and then in the test matches be a much better team? I know what one I would choose. What I mate you didn't cut out, says JJ there. And we have got the impossible for the All Blacks to beat the Springboks in the first test, says Martin. The only positive for the Sharks is that they aren't down 30-0 and scrums folded once again, says Scheme. And also, which All Black has impressed you so far this first half? I would give it to Kyle Preston. I would say that he has shown exactly why many people wanted to see him in that All Blacks environment. He has controlled the game from the number 9 jersey. His kicking has been strong. Spots by Smirnoff. Says, yeehaw there. And if we have a timer at lineouts, there'll be the nays and the yays, depending on the situation their team is in. Pressure line out to win the game with a drive or run play. I'm going to get it right or nay. Yeah, see, it's probably circumstantial in terms of how they want to do it, if they were to do anything along those lines. But there is a lot of time that just isn't rugby at the moment. And how the hell is Ma'anonu still playing? What's a secret? Yeah, I don't know for Ma'anonu. Like, he has just had so much longevity. If Preston never gets more starts in the Satyrs, he's been really good. Says Broderick Fall. And yeah, I think that this performance is probably going to stick him in the equation for coming off the bench as the second best halfback for New Zealand. Of course, they'll still stick Cam Roigard as number 1, but it is nice to know that you can put a Preston in a starting lineup, have Cam Roigard maybe even off of the bench, and still have a very functional 9 and 21 combination. Kyle Preston is better than Finlay Christie, not just saying that because he has no soul, says yeehaw. And objective of team sports, score more points than the opposition, full stop. Good commentary, mate. Could be an auctioneer, go the All Blacks, says Jerome there. I have been told that before, all horse racing commentator was the other one because I talk far too fast for my brain to be able to function. All Blacks taking care of the high ball threat in the wet conditions is the headline that they've got there. Missed tackles 8 from the Kiwis so far, but they have had 4 retained kicks for both of these sides. So not too bad from the Kiwis there. One of the kicks was actually leading to that Damien McKenzie try. Can't stand Geordie kicking the ball as much as he does is bad, says MKG. I think people also doubt the strength of any good club team. Look at Leinster, 9% of the team was start-up Island team. They still don't win anything, says what the hell? Well, Leinster do win, but yeah, Ireland have struggled at times, of course. All Blacks all the way, says Barry. And so where does Beauden Barrett come into this? I don't know where Beauden Barrett fits in for this current All Black side because he didn't have a good game up against the Stormers. That is one thing that is for sure. You've got Ruben Love showing, like we talked about the players who have stepped up. I would say that this is also a game where we've seen Ruben Love have a phenomenal game. So, I think Ruben Love's first choice 10 at the moment. And then from there, Jacob's impact off the bench in the last game probably puts him into second in terms of the list. We have got there, I want to scrutinise Nonu, yet none of you, I would run it straight to him, says Scheme. Wait, who's scrutinising Ma'anonu? I saw a whole heap of people saying that they were happy to see him. We've got Darren who said he's in his 40s, but I'd hate running into him. I'm looking for the comments that were bad about Nono. I felt like everyone was being positive, other than Derek who said Nono is napping, bro, but he's chilling on the sideline at the moment, waiting for his opportunity. We have the conditions of why there's more kicking from the All Blacks. It's called game management. And also, Rieko is good. I don't know why people sleep on him. See, Sash, the one thing for me that Rieko Ioane has that lets him down is the lack of high ball. And it's blatantly obvious at times. Like, in terms of the pace and also his work in that last game against the Stormers, I think he did very well. But I also spotted a few times where he has this tactic, Ioane. And it's a tactic that I know that my younger cousin used to use when he played rugby. And I don't know why I'm calling him out for this, but the tactic used to be, he was a forward, right? And he would go, get in there forwards, and he'd act like he would join the breakdown, and then he wouldn't. He'd let everyone else join the breakdown. That, for me, is Rieko Ioane under the high ball. He does a little look, he acts like he's going to go, and then he never goes for it. And when he does, he never wins it. So that's the one part for Rieko that I think has hurt him quite a bit. And that's why at times I think he was quite handy to stay as a centre rather than out on the wing, because he wasn't targeted as much. He could afford to not have to worry about that high ball game and could just play the kind of the side stepping and the defender beating that he is known for. Rieko Ioane is the GOAT, says Josiah there. And the sneaky standoff, says Sash. Do you think South Africa will be way better I see a lot of foes over here. How many All Blacks are playing overseas, says Derek. In terms of the guys who they want in the equation, probably about 15 or so. Strategic feints, pretty much, yeah. The get in there forwards and act like you're going and then just go, someone else do it. Rumour has it Buck Shelford is going to play for the Bulls against the All Blacks, says Mark. It's hard to play running rugby in these conditions. The field is a pool, says Big Clan. Yeah, and it does make it very difficult. Like we mentioned, there's been multiple times where the All Blacks have gone for 50-22s that have looked good, and then the Bulls just stopped. Remember the penalty against the Sharks in the later part of the first half for cleaning the ruck from its side? Just saw a replay of the AB's first try. Guess what? Says Johan. So, yeah, you really need to become a referee, Johan, because you're non-stop looking at the things. You could be the TMO. And, in fact, you're probably about as late as the TMO was for that first Damian McKenzie ruled-out try with your comment there. We have there, Rico does exactly that in the Stormers. Stands off one of the first Stormers tried, didn't commit. Says Simon. Yeah, and the thing is, when you're looking for it as well, you can spot it a lot. It's one thing that anytime Ioane's involved in like an aerial situation now, I've noticed. And there was a game last year that he even ran off the field to avoid having to go up for the high ball. He was out of the field of play. As Abe's replaced Brockton, not yet. Seems like it's something that's going to be coming up in the very near future, though. And we have there because D-Mac had just had his little injury. I think we all know the news that'll be announced at the end of this week. Says MKG, or only if he's completely out, though. And Johan has finally found a job as a TMO. Says Johnny Blaze. Are you allowed to show a picture of the pitch in the pool just to see how bad the weather is? I don't even think I'm allowed to show a picture, as it would still be regarded as copyrighted by Sky Sport. But there'll be a couple highlights up on either the All Blacks Instagram or the Sharks Instagram, I would think, by now. I know it won't. It doesn't rain in South Africa in winter. It's rare. It's literally only these 2 days. And Daniel Rona or Johnny Rover in for Proctor, says Josiah. And he is a great coach, says Derek. And we have got there, got a Musiaya to 10, but Willomi at 15. Says, how's it? Yeah, and I think there might be a bit of a reshuffle. Would you want to look at some South African puddles? Or why would you want to look at it? It's just for the curiosity of how wet the field is. And it is very wet. I think that the before match show when they were digging in the forks, just trying to drain a bit of the water, and did it to D-Mac and Fihi Whirianofo. I personally think that's a tad deliberate. D-Mac got injured. Fihi got a niggly. They constantly kick for this corner behind our player. Watch them do it again. And the Nonu haka was magic. Yeah, that was a really nice moment before the game got underway. D-Mac injured. When that ankle cools down, he's going to bark out loud, says Hanger Rat. And also, don't talk. Ren's at percent undefeated. Reeks is both 11 and 13. Who makes tackles? Says Shane. Wait, so Ren's percentage is undefeated, and Reeks is both 11 and 13 who makes tackles. Yeah, there's no denying that Rieko Ioane makes tackles. It's just he doesn't want to jump for a ball. Like, that's fine, though, because there's a way that you can use him in a way that doesn't involve him having to go up for that high ball. But up against a side like South Africa, they will kick the absolute daylights out of it to Rieko Ioane's side. If only the weather looked like the one on the green screen. No puddles, only splashes. I went on the right side, but we are about to get back underway for this contest, ladies and gentlemen. Kicking off from left to right here for New Zealand now. Ruben Love about to get us underway. Timothy Tavatavanawai is in the Test 23. I reckon Vai is 6 and Morby. Says yeehaw. Now time on. We're ready to get underway for the second 40. Hopefully more tries than we saw in the first half. Big tackle made. Oh, and a little knock on from the Sharks right at the start of this half. 50-0 New Zealand, says Mick there. We're there, Doug Howlett. Also, Tapoki, Murphy, and Manning did the Haka versus All Blacks before the Months game in 2008. Says Wafer there. But yeah, has there been a time where one single player has done it back? Like by himself? Because I know that there's been times where a ex-All Black has done the haka with the team across from them at the same time. But yeah, standing there by himself was quite a cool moment. I love a little Sharks knock on Says, yeah, bless you. Says, Albert, hello, Hamish, long time no see. Says, you, welcome in. Hope you are doing well. We've had a minute of the second half. The All Blacks told to use it at the back of the scrum, which is 35 metres out from the Sharks line. Fihi Whitianofo with a short ball to Quinn Tupaia. Now Preston moving away to the left-hand side again. Ruben Love going for the grubber behind, just trying to find a bit of open space, but Donovan Dom was back and manages to kick it into touch, although didn't gain any metres from the kick. So New Zealand now with the line out from inside of their 22. Did Georgia ever beat the Springboks? Says Mohadeen. I don't think so. I think the closest I've been was a loss by about 20 points or so, right? Now line out here for a Safwa Moore. Did score the last try of the first greatest rivalry tour match against the Stormers. The All Blacks throwing it in. Nicely taken by Derry, although the All Blacks closing the gap with the first lifter. Oh, too slow. Oh, okay. That's an interesting call from Matthew Carley. He said, you're too slow throwing it in as well. Get on with it, please. Suffolk just having a bit of a conversation with Derry, wondering what actually happened. And Georgia have never been in the box. Give it under 40 Sharks. Get Pasilio Tosi. Put off this All Black squad. He sucks. His scrum is bad. He has too much playing around and messing about with the media. Needs to focus. Says Josiah. And interesting stay. Nonu made his All Blacks debut 1 year before Sharks back. Julius was born. Yeah, there's a lot of guys in the Sharks. How when Nonu debuted in 2003, they didn't exist. They probably weren't even thought about at that stage for some of the younger guys. Now Kyle Preston going away to the right-hand side. Sam Derry to the halfway line. Good tackle made by Koch as well as Emmanuel Tichuka. Oh, nice sell of the dummy from Satiti, who pierces the gap, trying to get rid of the man on him in Siaya. Offload back to Preston, keeping this ball moving. Slip there at the back, and Moni Narawa hanging on to the ball in one hand and charging up to 10 metres out from the line. Now Preston again pops it back. Satiti moves it on to Ruben Love. Cross kick from Geordie Barrett. It is hanging in the air. Beautifully taken by Caleb Clark. 5 metres out from the line. Vahi sells the dummy short side and moves within 3. Preston back across to Wallace Satiti. It's got numbers on the right-hand side, and the All Blacks now have got the penalty advantage too. Preston goes left though. Back into the hands of Vahi. Couple quick carries from the blind side flanker. Now Preston up to a Safwa Moore. He is over the line. Surely he's got that one down. But they haven't got a clear grounding by the sounds of it. So they'll have to have a check of this one. Go the All Blacks, says Josiah there. Have a lot to say though. Says Neo there. I'll leave Rico out of your chat. He played his way back into the All Blacks team contention. Says Bounty. I mean, I did praise him as well in terms of the what he was able to do in that first match. He was actually regarded as one of the better players up against the Stormers. So my apologies. I didn't realise we weren't allowed to critique players. But now, Safwa Moore, this will be an interesting one to see whether or not he did get that ball down. We have got there, go the All Blacks, says Stefan. Safwa Moore, very hard to stop. Although they may have just done enough. That one's not going to be clear and conclusive. I believe that Costa has actually got in underneath it and managed to turn it up enough so that the grounding might not be conclusive. Moore is the man that we still got on the squad. Says Andrew there. And is Damian McKenzie injured right now? He is, yes. And talk now, Springbok fans, remember we are the All Blacks, says Josiah. And ref asking Safamoa, did you get that? Are the ball down, do I need, or do you think I need to check, says Johnny Blaze. But this one, they've got one more camera angle. See, this is interesting. Matthew Carley has said he's clearly grounded the ball, but Matthew Carley was on the backside, looked to Holly Davidson, who didn't give him anything, and it's going to be no try as that ball was not clearly grounded. So it is going to be going back for the 5 metre line for the offside against New Zealand. A good footy from the All Blacks, and how did D-Mac get hurt? I missed it. It was under the high ball initially. Will Richie Mo'unga get the call up soon? If McKenzie's out for the series, or for the tour, I would say yes, but we've still got to wait and see. Now Safwa Moore gets a little bit closer to the try line. About 2 metres out, Preston. Little bit of a set play here from New Zealand. Wide cutout pass from Wallace Atiti. And Clark gets over for try number 3. Switch between here and South African channels. You'll see this South African ignorance. Says Mr. Kiwi for life. And also, mate, you're all fine. You can critique players. This is your podcast and you're being pretty fair. Says JJ there. But that is a great finish from Caleb Clark. Did well under that initial high ball not too long ago to keep the ball on the side of New Zealand. Beautiful, says Johnny. And I was like, yes, boys, says Josiah, and bring Nonu on. That's a good finish from Caleb Clark. Offside, says Johan. What, is in from Donovan Don, who was rushing up to make the tackle? Or are you saying that the man who was on attack was offside? We over there seriously worried about our injuries, though. Says JJ, yeah, that injury list is getting longer and longer at the moment for the All Blacks, as it always will with a long tour like this. Ruben Love does get that kick over, and that makes the score now 21-0 in favour of New Zealand. Let's go the All Blacks, says Joe Hiku. And also we have there, I want to see Nonu, bring him on, says Albert. Bring on Nonu now. The coach is that Xbox player A. JP Peterson, that is the one. I really wish that D-Mac was pulled off earlier, says JJ. A good finish from Clark. Now, every single man in the back three for New Zealand has scored in this contest. Geordie and Tapai, our midfielders locked in, says Mike. Now, Geordie Barrett goes across to Narawa, moves it on to Satiti. The All Blacks starting to throw this ball around a little bit more now. In the second 40, Preston pops it back now to Ruben Love, who almost looked to skim his way through the defence. Is Damian McKenzie injured still? He is off. Yep, he is off the field at the moment, Damian McKenzie. Did end up playing for about 30 minutes of the contest. In fact, a little bit less than that. Now, Preston inside of the 22, looking to kick this one off the right boot. Now, anyone who has noticed, Preston can kick off both left and right boots. That one was not his best kick, though. Goes straight into the hands of the Sharks, although getting wrestled into touch. And Preston man of the match so far. Heads up play from him all game, says Broderick. And Geordie has class, says Lloyd. And get fitting our Nofo into the action. After this game, Rennie should try to bring Nonu back into the All Blacks. Yeah, there's still the qualification, though. He would have to play a season of Super Rugby or be in the NPC. Quintapaya. It's the ball up. That was close to the steal there for the Sharks. Preston decides to go for a sniping run himself, and that is another advantage now in favour of New Zealand. In fact, it gets upgraded to the penalty. That is for offside against the Sharks. Sharks last on South African franchise. The South Africa is not exposed. Or has not exposed one of the big guns yet. Nothing game other than giving Rassi insight, says Nicholas. Yeah, although I don't think Rassi will learn too much from this contest so far, as the test matches aren't considered to be played in the rain. It seems like it's going to be quite nice weather for them. So New Zealand also, I would say, have played very different tactics than they would in the dry for this matchup. But they'll certainly be on notice with someone like a Kyle Preston and what he is able to offer for the All Black side. They're going to get a little bit of knowledge about Imoni Narawa now too. Now Satiti, he's had a much better game here too. Wallace Satiti needed it after his last performance in July. Now Kyle Preston sniping through again. Tackled in the end by Murray Costa, and it was almost a clean steal for the South Africans in the breakdown. Asafo Moore moves up to the 22. Now Preston, way to the left-hand side. Josh Lord thought about the offload. Jacobson up to the 22-metre line again. Fairly cautionary Macca like Roygaard. Oh, it's going to be stolen by the Sharks, though. Willomi has made his way on, stepping through a more, but tackled by Preston, who jumps straight in the breakdown, throws the body on the line, but he's given away the penalty for no clear release. And also, please put Nonu on. We have there, Nonu is coming, bro. Says Derek. What are the chances of the 4 games having similar weather? Very, very slim by the sounds of it. We might have 1 game with rain out of the 4. And Nonu is coming. Says Derek there, and Sharks backline defence confused. South African fans come across as the most inbred fans in the world. Saying something, says Tommy Tato. What? I don't even know how to respond to that. Clean out from side by the All Blacks. They got penalised, Johan, so you'll be happy about that. We have there, Preston can kick off both feet. Get Preston off now. Get him ready for the test to back up Roygaard. I watched another live stream and I spotted that the guy wasn't showing the screen. But to get the volume up, says Josiah. Yeah, sometimes you can still get copyright struck for the audio though, depending on what broadcaster you're watching through. Rolling Maul here for the Sharks currently. Looks like they are going to go for a box kick through Bradley Davids. Now towards the sideline, Ruben Love calls for the mark. He was actually a foot outside of the 22. But it seems like the mark has been given by Carly. How many kids are playing for the Sharks? Here's Jared. They have got about 5 or 6 guys from their under-20 setup within the last little while. And we have got there's a very good player, Blaze. We need him in the test, I think, says Sock. And not feeling Clark either, by the way. Oh, really? See, that's interesting, because I feel like Clark's been all right this game. He's actually diffused some of the kicking game of the Sharks, which I think is why we haven't seen them go to it as often. Where's Cam Roygaard? Calf injury. He ended up getting ruled out of this game late, which brought Cortez Ratama onto the bench. But by the sounds of it, he is still going to be all right to potentially play the test matches, and even maybe all right to play up against the Bulls. Although I don't think you risk him in the game against the Bulls now. Yep, Satiti, are we wanting to make a strong statement? I think he was brought back too early in the earlier test, especially after such a serious head concussion. Health scare. Just thankful he's okay. Now, a loose ball there, almost a chance for Vusi Moyo to jump on it. They are going back to play the initial knock-on advantage. And we have a great day at work, says Johnny Blaze. When is Tony Taylor coming back? It sounds like he's available for the Bulls game. But I'm not sure whether or not he'll be playing, or whether they'll give him maybe that little bit longer. I assume they'll want some minutes under his belt, though. Speaking of minutes under the belt for hookers as well, Bradley Slater, the man who will be making his way off the bench for his international debut. He replaced George Bell, who was out with an injury. I think he was calf too, actually. A lot of calf injuries going around the Kiwis at the moment. Who's dominated in the scrum? It's been a bit 50-50. We've seen the Sharks have some decent scrummaging, but the All Blacks have won the more penalties at scrum time. So you probably give them the advantage in that department. Null got penalised early, but outside of that, I can't think of too many other advantages played. Preston puts the ball in, comes straight out the back now to Geordie Barrett, who again will go for a cross kick. That's the third time that he's gone for it in this contest. Fihi Whittingham-Nofo looking for the chip in behind. Guilherme chasing after it. Alongside, I believe that is going to be the number 11 Bester. Now straight onto the ball for Fihi Whittingham-Nofo, turning it over for New Zealand just like he did back in the Sevens days. Ethan, a great bit of open space as he hits it up to the 22-metre line. Kone Raul trying to get in that breakdown. It was named as the number 19. Initially, I believe it was going to be Vincent Tichuka, but the change now. Quintal Paya offloads back up to Preston again, moving away. Jacobson. Barrett moves it on to Imoni. Narawa gets round a couple. And Sharks are useless. It's better to play against. Free State says Angie. Little grubber attempted from New Zealand. Kicked forward by Ruben Love, who had a bit of a push on head. And now Clark with the offload to Fihi Whittingham-Nofo. Quick off the mark. The one thing that I would say they could check is if Ruben Love, when chasing after that ball, gave a bit of a push to the guy behind him. But I think they might just check it. Preston must be a good replacement for Cam Roygaard. Yeah, I think Preston has now shown himself to be the second choice halfback, which I think a few people were already giving anyway. We're going to see it there, the attempt at the kick in behind from Geordie Barrett, then Ruben Love. Yeah, see, there's just a little push there. I don't know whether or not that would be severe enough for them to go back for, though. And try, says Josiah. It does seem that way. And Fihi Whittingham-Nofo, another try for the back three. They will call that back, says Jared. And QTMO says dunk there. You see, he just pushed, although I don't know if they'll rule it as shoulder to shoulder between Love and Hatton. But it seems like it's all clear for now. I'm just keeping a close eye on Matthew Carley. I think Ruben Love is as well. Preston has a wing cover, especially with Clark trying to defend French on box wing. That one's going to go over from Ruben Love. He's sitting 4 from 4 so far. And that was good except Barrett's kick. Says Nada Boy, 2 tries for Fihi Whittingham-Nofo. On a second game, that's solid, says Josiah. And I knew to Preston when he was a baby, says Sock. I don't mind Sharks losing big to the second best team in the world, especially this is a very weak Sharks team. This game does nothing for our rugby strength in the country other than the Springboks. We have there, that means nothing. TMO will take it back tomorrow afternoon, says Yanko. Now, Ollie Norris, Bradley Slater, 2 men making their way onto the park. I would assume that Basilio Tossi would come on too. And how lucky are we to have Preston Roygaard, says Yeha. And Fihi's still feeling his back. Yeah, I think that back will be struggling for a little bit for Fihi Whittingham-Nofo. Hopefully a little bit of rehab throughout the week and he'll be good to go for those test matches, because I honestly feel like he's played himself close to an All Blacks chance, definitely with the fact that Damian McKenzie could be out for some of those tests. But Jordie Barrett claiming the ball inside of the All Blacks 22. Does kick it downfield. It's literally too easy for the All Blacks. It's a good performance. Says Broderick Fall there. And Norris brings some physicality. And everyone is excited for Nonu and completely overlooking, says Jude. And we have got there Ruben Love is looking like a star at 10, says Dub. And how's the team rating so far? I think that once the All Blacks took away that a little bit of ill discipline near the start of the game, they've been pretty solid as a whole. Love has the ball on a string. Oh, free kick goes the way of the Sharks. Oh, Fusi Moyo. The good old tactics. He rolled the ball along the ground to try and make it wet, make it a little bit harder for New Zealand to take, but Whihi Whirianofo has taken it perfectly. And the ball's still on the side of the All Blacks here. Preston pops it away to Ollie Norris for his first carry back in an All Blacks kit to get the opportunity. But not throughout July. It was, I believe, last year. Preston charged down kick. Took a little bit too long, but Whihi Whirianofo off the mark with a lot of acceleration. Now Jordie Barrett tried to pass it to Caleb Clark. No, in fact, it was Tupavai. Harry Godfrey, Amish, what do you think? Did a very nice job in the last weekend's NPC competition. Has got those injury concerns along the way. So I'd say give him a bit more time before rushing him straight back in. New Zealand decided to go quickly with that one, and the referee says, no, we'll go back for it again. Can't Will Jordan play fullback since McKenzie could be out? Yes. Which is where the Morby situation with Will Jordan. You know, you could put both of them in your back three, but I do think that Whihi Whirianofo now definitely putting his name in the hat too. Do you think it would be good for rugby if New Zealand joined the URC? No, probably not. I think that you're better off having the different competitions in the different time zone, intentionally knocked into touch. I don't think it was like intentionally knocked out. He just reached for it, and luckily for him, it was going backwards. So I don't see anything wrong with that one. Kyle Preston going away to the left-hand side. Bradley Slater knocks it on for his first touch in an international kit. Not quite the way that he wanted it to start. Hamish, what time is Ta'iloa time? It's got to be close, right? Although, who do you put him on for at the moment? I would say Satiti I would take off only because no reason. Like, he's played well in this game. It's just because Samisi Tupo Ta'iloa, it's a straight swap in that number 8 jersey, so it's easier. That's pretty much the only reason. How long is the game still? Still another 24 minutes remaining in this contest. Bookies at All Blacks by 38 before the game. They seem to be on target, says Mike. Sorry, that was Mark. New Zealand and the URC. Where do you find these people, Hamish, says Sandor? Can we get these debutants out there who scored the tries? So the most recent try was scored by Whihi Whirianofo. He has scored 2 tries in this matchup, and alongside him, we have also seen the try from Caleb Clark and the try from Damian McKenzie. We have got the Harry Godfrey All Blacks 10, says random stuff. Once again, I think that he's too soon back from injury to chuck him straight in the deep end. I think there's also plenty of other 10s that they have got currently. But in terms of a future option for Godfrey, maybe down the line, but he's got to get through a season of Super without an injury first. He's had a couple season enders already, including most recent season, 1.7 enjoying the stream. Please give Hamish a like. Let's get the hardest working rugby YouTuber to 100k by Christmas. Says Broderick. Yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are getting closer and closer. We're up to 83,000 at the moment. Free kick to the Sharks. In the scrum round the halfway line now, Vusim Moyo sells the dummy. Miss slow tackle from Josh Lord. No, in fact, it was Jacobson this time. Now up to Corneral. Looks like Ivan Funsell. He has made his way onto the field too for the Sharks. Willow me. Big shot in by Whihi Whirianofo. Funsell again back across to Swart. Who replaced McKenzie? Amoni Narawa. And it seems like Narawa is playing kind of like a fullback role, although there are multiple guys slightly slotting in. Across that All Blacks back line, we got there Morena Whanau. Yes, the All Blacks. I'm off to Mahi. You all have the best day. Same to you, Joshua. Now out wide. Chance here off the mark. Some quick fire pace, but a brilliant tackle made by Caleb Clark to force Siaya into touch. Now, it looks like Clark wants to take it quickly, and the All Blacks do just that. Ruben Love. Oh, no. Now the referee's going to rule it back again. Narawa frustrated with the call there, but it was touched by the Sharks first. And Siaya is our touch finder. So here's Ali Wood there. And it should be 50k. says Derek there. And also Hamish is angry for me, I hear. Who told you that, Wahideen? Alero Carter will get steamrolled at 13, says Amaru. And be safe for work. Joshua says Sock there. See, are you staying down for a little bit of time there? We've still got another 20 minutes remaining in this contest, ladies and gents. So plenty more that can happen. But again, a brilliant tackle made by Caleb Clark to force Siaya into touch. Another one crashing out all day. Says Wall Plunder. And the Sharks back is very non-South African. But Scotland looks like poaching again. They got Higgins. Then again, Higgins' brother had a hand in it. Says random stuff. So changes in the front row again. But also, a change. Samese Tupo-Taialoa makes his way on for the All Blacks. 2 debutants in this game now getting the chance to show what he can do. He was brilliant for Moana Pacifica. The change in the front row for the Sharks too. They have brought on Van Wyk, Ngobesi, and also Kubecha. Now Ruben Love pops it across to the left-hand side. Caleb Clark moves it on to Tupovai, close to the sideline. Offload back into Clark. But he is on the field for Wallace Satiti, so just the easy option, I would say. Puffing then decided he had a shin injury. Says Wafer there. Now Ruben Love. Out to Tupaia. Now Amoni Narawa has got the man with him. He's hanging on to the ball one-handed, which is thoroughly impressive as a whole. But then the fact that it's also wet weather makes it that much more impressive. Ollie Norris round the halfway line. Now Kyle Preston back to the right-hand side this time, away to Luke Jacobson, the captain. Oh, that was almost stolen in the breakdown, but not quite able to get it for the Sharks. Ruben Love now back across. Geordie Barrett up to Quinn Tupai. Missed tackle from Funsale, which leaves the gap on the outside for Clark to be able to charge down the wing. Fends off Siaya, but moves into the 22. Sam Derry picking goes short side, bit risky from the number 5, straight in off the feet for the Sharks. So advantage play for New Zealand. Clark plays half up to Basilio Tossi. Big 2-man tackle on him by Ngobesi. As well as Liam Van Wyk, nice offload from New Zealand. Ruben Love pops it up. Jacobson receives the ball from Slater. One more out to Geordie Barrett, and he will run in the try. Maybe they will just check one of those last passes to make sure it went back. But New Zealand, they get themselves now their 5th. That's big. Samisi Tupatailoa run from deep 30 metres and charge straight through the Sharkies. And look forward, says Jared. Yeah, it's just that pass from, it was, I think, Sam Derry to Luke Jacobson was the one that I'm thinking could have been potentially a little bit on the flat side. Forward pass, says Leslie in there as well. Tell you what, Samisi Tupatailoa has actually done, oh no, it was Slater to Jacobson, my apologies. And all you, Geordie, very good team, try that. All right, one of the Sharks players actually going over to the referee here. Ruben Love is sitting 4 from 4. He has had a brilliant day off the kicking tee, and that continues. 5 from 5 now up against the Sharks team. A fun rugby there, probably 4, but cool stuff, says Studs Race. They're showing the offload from Jacobson to Barrett, though. It has been a day for the backs in terms of this All Blacks team. We are yet to see a singular forward score in this contest. But there is a big cheer going around the ground. That can only mean one thing, ladies and gentlemen, and that is that Ma'anonu, at 44 years of age, has made his way onto the field. It is something that, when it was announced, almost seemed a little bit unbelievable, but he's got 19 minutes from that number 12 jersey to go up against his old side. A 13-year career in international rugby for Nonu. 2003, he made his debut for international or professional rugby. Now advantage here in favour of the All Blacks for the rolling maul. Preston goes across to Ruben Love. Rush defence, does miss the tackle there for Vusi Moyo. Quintupai offload on the outside to Narawa. Pops it on the inside to Clark. Now Preston, is there a little bit of blocking? They've said no. Preston with the directional change. And it's another try for New Zealand. 2 in quick fire succession. And now they're starting to run away with this game, the All Blacks. Maybe the crowd was cheering for Blackadder. If I had to guess, I'd say it was maybe not for... Well, maybe they're happy to see Blackadder, to be fair. He's had his fair share of his injuries. We see it there, the cutout pass. This is just really well done from an All Black side that seem on the same page now for the second half. Narawa has really done nicely, and then the directional change at the end. Guilherme was absolutely fuming with himself by missing that tackle. I'm expecting more embarrassment from the Sharks team in the URC. They always are completely dominating them. Rasi take notice. Love a very good kicker. Money and Sasha not. Pollard first name on the box team sheet. And that was a really, really good try. Says Albert, and that kick has gone over from Ruben Love, now making the score 42-0 for New Zealand. Everyone loves Nonu, says JJ. We're seeing it there. I think Haddon was trying to ask for the penalty for Josh Law being in his way. I don't know if he would have got to Preston anyway there. Whereas Timothy, you'd assume he's not a mile away from making his way onto the field. Who do you actually replace, though, out there? Because I think that Barrett's had a solid game, and they might leave him for the 80 just to have a bit of an experienced head in the back line. Nice take from Fehi. Oh, tell you what, it's been answered. Jordy Barrett went off for Timothy Tavanawai, who now has 17 minutes to see what he can do. Quinta Paya got to be man of the match for the backs. Yeah, there's been a lot of players who have well and truly stepped up. Amoni Narawa now with the ball in hand inside of the 22. This is the wet end of the field. It seems like still quite a few puddles lurking. And Preston doing well. Kind of a little more animated than Ratama, says Mike. Yeah, he seems like he's got intent, which is something that at times is a critique to Ratama. Sometimes he seems like he's just in cruise control. And we still have Pledge and Lennox to come through. Says Broderick Fall. I actually know why. It's because Nonu is pretending to be bad. To let the All Blacks win, says, what's up, guys? Oh, that one's going to be knocked on from Caleb Clark. A real mistake under the high ball for today. Or the left winger. Is Nonu on yet? Yes, he is. He did recently make his way on in about the 62nd minute. Are we over there? Maybe Rasi must make a video after every game, seeing that you are so educated. That's what you should be doing, Johan. You have like 50 complaints about the refereeing throughout every contest we've ever had you on the channel for. So maybe you should be the one doing all the work. Because if Rasi does it, he gets banned. If you do it, people say you're just being annoying. So that would be your better option, I think. Rather than getting Rasi sacked, that's your calling card. You're seeing all of these errors that most people aren't seeing, and that could be your day job. We have you there, hoping to see some Isi, Tavanawai versus Nono. Be an awesome battle, even if it's only 10 minutes worth. And is Tavanawai on? He is, yes, for Jordy Barrett. So very much a different looking back line compared to the start of the game. And Lekker boys, All Blacks showing up. If they don't play bad rugby and kick every ball, you can actually score points. And Jay's in front of the kicker again, says Johan put it in the video. We have you there, Johan, is the inbreds we talk about here in South Africa. Says, what the hell, it's harsh. Don't get me wrong, he is an annoyance, but you can't just call people inbred without proof. But then how do you prove it? That would be a bit of an awkward one. Now sitting around the halfway line, it is Emmanuel Tichuka working the breakdown from Timothy Tavanawai and ripping it away for the Kiwis, just like we saw all throughout the Highlanders Super Rugby season. Quinta Paya kicking it in behind. This one is going to roll just out from the opposition 5 metre line. Charge down, kick it. It goes into touch. The Sharks, they've ruled it as a knock on against the Sharks. So New Zealand now have got themselves the scrum about 5 metres out from the line. It's really hard to watch. Says Liza there. And we have got there as well. Broderick has become the new member. Thank you very much, mate. Greatly appreciated. Are we playing the All Blacks just by the way, says Sash there. Ma'anonu had the ball in hand and just runs over the top of Ruben Love. He's just showing the replay there. It was actually a very good tackle by Love, though. He easily could have been bumped off, but Ma'anonu, two-time Rugby World Cup winner with the All Blacks in 2011 and 2015. And Nonu tries to kill Love, says Dunk. And also in the box are the biggest hypocrites in existence. Complain about other teams being dirty. You birthed the dirtiest of Buckiest Bota, says 07. And slow-mo Nonu action. He's going to have a few highlights from this game. Even his haka by himself was a highlight in its own right. Kyle Preston, though, ready to feed this ball in. And it's a penalty to the Sharks. We got a super sticker from Matthew too. Thank you very much, mate. Greatly appreciated for your generosity there. And top tier commentary, mate, says I laugh there. Thank you very much. And we are, of course, going to be back this weekend for more international rugby. The next game that we have got will be the Bulls versus the All Blacks. In fact, that's a lie. It's going to be first Japan versus Australia, then the Bulls taking on the All Blacks. Willomi will now kick this one into touch. What's the game clock at the moment? It is 67 minutes through. In this contest, that one has not found touch from the youngster, which now gives the New Zealanders another counter-attacking chance. Quinn Tupaia straightening run. Oh, Nonu's landed on his head there in the tackle attempt. But he all right. He's straight back up to his feet like nothing happened. Nice offload from Timothy Tavanawai. Clark gets through another for being dragged down by Ngobesi. There's another advantage in play for New Zealand. Nonu getting in the action again to make the tackle. On a roll out of there, does nicely. Preston across to Love, Derry. Tell you what, you already see, like, Ma'anonu's supposed to be 44. He's busy since he made his way on to the park. Timothy Tavanawai. They'll go back for the initial penalty. YouTube Premium for the win. Enjoying the game. Then your commentary in the background. Watching it from my phone at work. Says Broderick there. We have good there. You're welcome, bro. You deserve it. Says Matthew too. And also, tried telling you nicely, All Blacks cruise into a clean sweep. Says Nick. Says Nicky. But Emmanuel Tichuka, the man who's been penalised now, 11 and a half minutes remaining. And on his Steamboat leading the way. And there too, but again, looking towards the corner. Once again, I'll go like this. Well, they're playing a little bit of Backstreet Boys in Durban at the moment. Jim, the difference already making an impact. And Ono in 12 and he stays in at 13 will be big for the Sharks. There's just me now breaking off the back. So Messi, Tupo, Taialoa. He's just knocked. Oh no. Is he all right? Okay, he's all right. I thought he just knocked Emmanuel Tichuka unconscious, but he got back up to his feet, but he got set down by the big man. Samisi Tupo Taialoa, 5 metres out from the line now. Blackadder hitting the ball up again. Love your commentary, bro, from the hut. Says Kanye there, so it is greatly appreciated you tuning in. It's currently 2 metres out from the line here for New Zealand. Samisi Tupotaialoa wanted it, but there he goes, and Tavanawai. He goes in for another try, the 7th of the match for New Zealand. And a man who has been working to get back into this All Blacks kit has now scored on the short side. Timothy Tavanawai, definitely a guy to keep an eye on. We have got there, Ma'a is the best in South Africa. I love the commentary whilst watching my daughter at horse riding here in Wales. Oh yeah, because it's evening in Wales, isn't it? I was trying to work out, I was thinking, geez, that's an early morning horse ride, but no, it'll be in the evening. Hopefully she stays on the horse. That's one thing I was always told about when it comes to riding a horse. You don't want to fall off it. And just something about Donut. And a big Jim back in black says Smegalicious. And we have got there, damn good guns. Are we not? Says Socky, 47 points at the moment for New Zealand on the board. We have got there, great call, Hamish. Enjoying this more than the South African commentary in the background. Do you have a penalty count at all for the All Blacks and the Sharks? I know at one point it was 5-0. I'm not sure what the updated penalty count is now. I'll try and find it out for you. Or, in fact, they'll show it at the end of the game if you're willing to wait for those end-of-match stats. Timothy Tavanawai untouched on the short side. We have there, congratulations to the All Blacks. Done things for the game. I'm done, Hamish. I see you with the Bulls game, says Mashihu there. But that one has missed for Ruben Love. So his first miss of the day. He still sits 6 from 7. Do you anyone to criticise this All Blacks performance, says Broderick? Yeah. I'm definitely not going to. I learnt my lesson. But Ratama is now on the field. 9 minutes remaining. We have got there, can Nonu get a Springbok call-up? Don't think so. As Smash and Bro says too there. Now Will on me. Charging forward. Tackled by Derry as well as Slater. Back across to the right-hand side again. Good attacking run by Ngobesi. Now fun sail. Bit of a fumble with the ball. Initially for Quebecer. The ball's still available on the side of the Sharks to try and get something going. Ramal going back across to Vusi Moyo. Tackled by Samisi Tupotaialoa. Already has had 1 carry and a couple tackles since making his way on to the park. Liam van Wyk. Doing all right at the moment, though, the Sharks. This is probably the most phases that they've actually had throughout this game. Nonu now with a ball in hand, tackle round the halfway line. Now across again, Willomi had Ramal on his inside. Now fun sail again, back across to Ngobesi. Another carry from the big man. But they're still around the halfway line. Looks like Fun Sale is now looking to go either to the pocket or kick it himself. It looks like the kick himself for the box kick is the option. Down towards the All Blacks 22, taken safely under the high ball for Ruben Love. Pops it off to Clark. He's got Quintal Pyre on his outside, who thought about shaping for the kick. Dodges the tackle of Fun Sale. Ratama again across to Lord. Black at it. Making a couple post-contact meters, back up to his feet, makes another couple. Derry goes up to Lord. Ma'anonu forcing the handling error from Lord, but now goes backwards. Narawa passes on the outside to the Mothi. Tava Nawai, one more to Fihi Whirianofo. He's got plenty of pace, unselfishly on the inside to Narawa, who has knocked it on in the final moment. And they'll go back for the Sharks scrum. Blackadder is strong. See, it's Derek there. And defence for the Sharks, says Tiger Hood, and also Sarah Riggins going to say ref been helping the All Blacks, says Mr. Kiwi for life. And Quintabai has been immaculate today. Yeah, there's been many guys for New Zealand who have drastically stepped up. 1 second, we'll go like that. And like that as well. We have got there Sarah Riggins, I read that one, and also 70-something minutes left. Yeah, 6.5 left on the clock currently. They have got the who is your standout All Black. I think Kyle Preston will win that, but Quintal Pyre also was really strong throughout this matchup. Fihi Whirianofo's had some brilliant moments. Satiti was solid. And the White Channels have no support in the inside man all night. Says Simon Barnes, and should have been selfish there, says Suts Race. Yeah, I think he almost would have had the pace to be able to get around the outside of Fun Sale in that scenario. We'll be interested to see which team they choose against the Bulls. I think the Lions might be their trickiest club to play in the midweek game. Yeah, you'd assume that the Lions game is definitely going to be a makeshift team for New Zealand Support Channel. Hit the like button. YouTube changed the algorithm. Says Jess Laird there. Yeah, so anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that like button. We have got their last game. You were the biggest critique, I assume that's supposed to be. Now what, says Josiah? Now they have played better. I tell you what, nervous in the early stages when they gave away 5 penalties to the none of the Sharks, but since then the discipline has got much stronger for New Zealand. It's a big scrum too, and the penalty won by the Kiwis. Ratama deciding that he wants to take this one quickly by the looks of it. Quick tap taken. Wait to the left-hand side to Mothi. Tava Nawai. Cross to Ruben Love. Now Quintal Pyre trying to get through Willomi. Ma'anonu in the breakdown. Can't quite turn it over. Ratama up to Samisi Tupo Taialoa. Now looking left-hand side, it's about a 4-on-2 here for the Kiwis. Quintal Pyre manages to find the offload. Lord now decides to take it to ground. Now Ratama, ball does get recycled out to him. Back across to Caleb Clark. Ratama again pops it up to Samisi Tupo Taialoa. Now Ratama again up to Derry. He goes through Ma'anonu's tackle attempt. And Derry finishes it off as the first forward to actually score in this game. Every other try has been scored by the backs, but Derry, first try for him, did score the first try in the first test match of the All Blacks calendar year 2. And we have got there is the 50. 1 second, we'll go like that. And we'll go like that too. We have got there just logged on. Jeepers, that disappointing from the Sharks. Poor show, guys. Become the boys don't get nailed. Don't get nilled. Says Theo there, and that was good from Derry. Says Nada Boy and Quintapai outstanding. The new Nonu. Says Hayden and there. And Preston X, the Chiefs. The Chiefs really stood out today. 52-0. Is this game going towards the world rankings? No. So only the test matches, not these midweek matches, and also not the other URC ones. That one has gone over from Ruben Love, making the score now 54-0. We have there, Ruben Love says slick. And also New Zealand Locks have had some silky skills for big men, says Megalicious. Yeah, good finish from Sam Derry, managing to bulldoze his way over. Now just the 4 minutes remaining here. And goodness gracious me, says what's up guys live. I'm just trying to think of what to call the review. Because I know no matter what I call it, I'm going to get stick for it. Don't know. I'll make up my mind later. What do you guys think we should call the review video, ladies and gents, for this matchup? And good try, Nonu. I better luck next time, says Sock there. And also 60-0. And they have still got time to score themselves another try here. It's going to be Pasilio Tossi inside of the 22. Shows how terrible the Sharks are. Poor coaching, no gameplay. Looks like lost puppies out there. Says Just Carl. One's gone high. Nicely taken by Caleb Clark under the high ball yet again. Tackled by Lorenzo Julius, who's had a pretty quiet day at the office for the Shark. Ruben Love wanted the cross kick. Matt Ramal manages to charge it down. Narawa isolated inside of his 22, but Blackadder putting in the hard work and a high tackle on him by Emmanuel Tichuka. I don't think it's been ruled as such. Smiling Amish says Power Horse. Okay, the Grats All Blacks going to call warm-up victory. And also thanks for the lovely commentary, Amish says Kristen there. We have got there, was the Springboks last game just poor performance, or was it not putting their best performance on the pitch? Says Robert, I think they had a shaky game up against Argentina, but I also do think there was still enough positives from that matchup to still say that they will be strong in this test series. There is absolutely no denying how hard it will be for New Zealand to beat South Africa in, you know, even 2 test matches would be regarded as quite a big accomplishment. Kicked him behind from Quintapaya, just a little bit of a nothing kick, goes into the hands of Guilherme, who's lined up by the captain Jacobson. 2 minutes left on the clock now. Being told to use it again there for the Sharks. And don't like 6 or -6 from 46 freezing. Brains 2 says Big B. The game clock currently 78 minutes through. And what's impressed you the most today from the All Blacks perspective, says Broderick. I know that it's something that you could say is a little thing, but literally just the ball, or like the high ball. You know, we've seen some great takes that look close to forward, and it's going to be a knock-on from Fihefiri Norfo. But what Clark has been able to offer on that left-hand side has been extremely valuable. You know, compared to last week. Don't get me wrong, running game-wise, we saw a lot of Rieko Ioane against the Stormers. But this game, Clark has been safe with the exception of one drop ball under that high ball. And that, with a side like the Sharks who have opted for a kicking-orientated game plan, just shuts them straight down. So it's something that I think that Dave Rennie will be looking at, and he'll ask himself the question of whether or not Clark is now locked in as his 11, and I would say yes, from what we've seen in this game today. And please, All Blacks score 60, and we have got there such a big score with bad weather and horrible pitch shows positive growth for this team. Go the All Blacks, says Kingsley there. But currently just the 1 minute remaining. They are just talking about on the commentary, they feel like the Sharks haven't had one genuine line break throughout this contest as of yet. What a score, cheers Amish. There's Moa Hunters. All Blacks too strong for the club side. Tests are going to be epic, says Joe Nettling. Now we have got there, we need to field an AZ team made up of fans, says the Ancestral. And also we have there, Sharks won the haka, and it went downhill from there. Please stop comparing poor performances to schoolboy rugby. As schoolboys in South Africa and New Zealand have been playing fantastic rugby in recent years. Yeah, I saw the under-18s got a win over Georgia as well as the Irish today for the junior side of things. We've got another donation from Matthew. Thank you very much, mate. Greatly appreciated. Great commentary. Thanks, Amish. Says Joe Nettling there. Now 30 seconds left in this game, and the Sharks have got themselves the scrum feed. They're 40 metres out from New Zealand's line. Ma'anonu, short ball pass there to Bester. Ma'anon's first game where his team has scored 0. Says Francisco there. Now back across nicely to Lorenzo Julius. There's that line break we were talking about. Missed tackle there from Love, but a brilliant tackle, I should say, from Josh Lord. New Zealand will win themselves the scrum just before the full-time siren. I'll let Nonu score a try, says Jasmine there. And the Sharks can still win this game, says Scorpio. And also let's go, says Johnny Blaze in there too. Just nice handling. Lorenzo Julius, a man who I mentioned earlier on, needs to have been much more busy in this game in terms of seeing him with ball in hand, although the Sharks in general had a huge amount of that possession. Time to start mustering the cattle now. I can't wait any longer for the first light, says Matthew. And also, have a mean day, New Zealand. Cheers, Hamish. I'm off to work. Up the Canes, says Val there. We want donuts, says Just Carl there. Would you slot Fihi in your 23 over Carter Morby or Clark. It's a tricky one, to be honest, but I think currently, if I was to pick a test team right now, my back three, well, the thing is Mackenzie injured though? Because I think I would go Clark 11, Fehi Whirianofo 14, Will Jordan 15, Morby off the bench. That's the way I would look at it at this stage. But there is also, you could go Morby starting in the starting side and then maybe have Fehi make his way off the bench as the impact, seeing as he can also play centre. So I think I think those four are the men though, if Mackenzie is injured. Carter's done well. We see there Anonu having a bit of a conversation with Matthew Carley at the end of this game, but the ball kicked out by New Zealand, and that is the end of this contest. 54 points to 0 in favour of the All Blacks. So a much better showing than we saw in the game against the Stormers. And they are now moving towards that next game up against the Bulls in only a few days' time. Of course, we're straight into that prediction stage of who plays in that game as well as who else we can see making their way into this All Black squad due to those injuries. The biggest concern at the moment for me is Damian McKenzie. Not the greatest game, but great call from yourself. See his studs raised there. And we have got there tough on the Sharks next stop, and All Blacks win and score. Sharks score Nonu points. Something like that says Pigeon. And also we have got there Will Jordan at 15 nah. Says random stuff. So you go Will Jordan wing Morby 15. I guess Morby did play there in the last contest, didn't he, up against the Stormers? So to save a little bit of change. But at the end of the day, Jordan does play 15 quite a bit. But yeah, going to be an interesting one. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We will have our review coming out in around 30 minutes or so's time, so be sure to tune into that too. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all for the next one.